All right, I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in the chat can hear me, just push one. All right, got a confirmation from the chat. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 498, Black Tech Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Doc and description beneath the video for you to follow along with. If you want to engage in discussion, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. When you click on the link, make sure you raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you and advance you to the panel. If you want to get into IT for the first time at the entry level, we do offer IT mentorship. Make sure you let us know if you're trying to get in. We can actually help you out there. If you're trying to transition from one IT role to another, we do offer IT coaching. If you have a resume or a cover letter and need help with that, we can help you out with that as well. Salaries and wages, negotiations, we actually offer assistance in that area too. If you're in the tri-state area, you're looking for IT contract, Nicole 11 does have recs on the table. Hit us up if you are interested in any sort of getting into IT. All right, let me drop the link. Also, if you're trying to get on to Zoom, make sure you update your Zoom client. Download the new Zoom client first before getting on, or else it's not going to work. They made an update this week or yesterday, so make sure you download the update before getting on. Highly critical, or else you won't be able to get on. So all right, let me acknowledge people who's already in the chat who came in early. Floyd L. Hope, what's up? Mega Montana, good afternoon to you. Jesse, I hear Azure is getting traction. Yeah, what's going on, Jesse? Yeah, that is true. Marvin Ellis, what's going on? Please hit the like button as you come in. Hard Fork Rich, what it do, what it do. What's going on, Region Black? All right, let me get started. I'm already late, so. All right, first item on the docket is from cbtnuggets.com. 11 best IT certs to study for from home in 4 weeks. Let me expand this out. The coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has introduced numerous problems for IT professionals, most obvious of which is millions of Americans being required to stay home instead of continuing their Monday through Friday 9 to 5 routine. However, as John Adams said, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. One of the best ways you can spend newfound downtime is to study for IT certifications. We've compiled a list of the top 11 certifications to study from home the next 4 weeks. All of our training for these certifications can be accomplished in this time frame, preparing you to take the exam in a month or less. If you decide to pursue one of our following certifications, whatever. First on the list is AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. This certification forms the foundation for the Amazon Web Services Certification Series and should be the first step if your career involves AWS. The knowledge base you'll need includes the basics of cloud computing as well as foundational aspects of how AWS is designed. Recommended, not required, prerequisites include 6 months of experience with AWS in some capacity, from business to technical, as well as a basic understanding of information technology. So this is true. You do need some experience in order to really get past some of the most critical areas of AWS. One thing to take the exam, but it's another to actually have some experience actually using it. So you can't really fake the funk with this. CBT cloud practitioner training is for non-technical professionals who are seeking awareness about cloud technologies. Yeah. So how long does it take? It's a 2-hour exam. How long does it take to master the terminology and platform basics? Because this is an introductory course, learning the terminology and platform basics shouldn't require more than an hour of study for additional study beyond the course material. How to know when you're ready to take the exam. Amazon outlines 8 abilities validated by the certification. Read through the list, pausing after each objective, and mentally review your comfort level with the material. If you can explain each ability using specific examples, you're ready to take the exam. Yeah, that's the thing. And this is why I like Pearson's books more than anything, because Pearson's IT books always ask you at the beginning of each chapter, do I know this? And it gives you a rough overview of terms and definitions and content. Are you familiar with this, and can you answer these questions? And if you can't answer the questions, you need to read the chapter. But if you can answer the questions from the jump, you're good to go to the next chapter. You don't need to spend a whole lot of time trying to hunker down on content that you are already familiar with. Okay. All right. Next certification is the Microsoft Azure Administrator. Microsoft AZ-103 exam is required to earn the Microsoft Azure Administrative Badge. It was created from combined material that was formerly covered by AZ-100 and AZ-101, which was retired May 2019. Although entry level, Microsoft's new Azure pathways emphasize depth of learning, meaning you should have not only experience but proficiency in areas covered by the exam, including multiple services across the full IT life cycle. Passing AZ-103, which will transition to AZ-104 on March 31st, 2020, that was Monday or Tuesday, is one of 2 pathways to becoming a Microsoft DevOps engineer. Although you don't need to be an expert to start preparing, you should have a solid foundations in system administration. This is true, okay? This is all true. A lot of people are trying to breeze through certifications by just studying the book and not actually using the technology. And that's a big mistake. You don't want to find yourself in a position where you're book smart, but you're not actually, you can't actually apply it to the real world. That's a big problem. Okay. Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, AZ900 is number 3. Is an entry-level exam for Microsoft Azure. It's an excellent starting point for anyone who is interacting with cloud computing for the first time, familiar with cloud computing, but new to Azure, or an on-prem sysadmin or architect who is transitioning into cloud-based role. The AZ900 exam covers a wide area of material and can equally apply to any of the Microsoft Azure certification paths, from architect to data scientist. If you feel any uncertainty about where you stand on Microsoft's cloud computing service, it's probably worth your time to review the foundational material upon which everything else is built. Yeah, this is true, okay? You want to review the foundational stuff, the most basic stuff. This is like Microsoft's version of the A+ for Azure, okay? This is their equivalent. It's an 8-hour exam. Or I mean, the training is 8 hours, but you should be able to take the exam in an hour or so. And this can be done in 30 days too. Number 4 is CompTIA Security Plus. Mugen Black, congratulations to him, actually passed his Security Plus a couple months ago. So he's in the chat right now. This certification is widely recognized as the foundation for anyone interested in the career of cybersecurity. The exam itself is unique in its approach of using performance-based questions rather than exclusively relying on knowledge. When you have a CompTIA Security Plus certification, employers know that you can do more than just identify security incidents. They can depend on you to address and resolve them. So this can be done in a month. I've talked about this before. I think Mugen Black in the chat, I think he studied for about a month before taking it. I think he did it for like 3 months or something like that. So it can be done in a month. It's all dependent on what your prior knowledge in tech is. I think it's harder for people who are not coming from tech to jump into cybersecurity. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many other moving pieces in cybersecurity that you may not be familiar with, and you jump into it because you passed the exam, but you don't have a real global overview and in-depth knowledge of tech itself to really understand all the intricate details of securing devices from a defensive standpoint and also from a offensive standpoint, as to how do you go about defending these sort of areas from an enterprise standpoint. Okay, that's very critical. You don't understand TCP/IP or the whole entire network stack, 7 layers. There's going to be some areas that you're going to be roughly confused about. Routing and switching, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 7. These areas are very critical. So you got to understand these areas first. Too many people want to jump into cybersecurity because there's the social status of it, right? I'm a cybersecurity guy. I'm the next Edward Snowden. I'm going to make 6 figures. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Got to study the fundamentals first before you just jump into something. That's my opinion. All right. Let me move on to the next one. The next one, number 5, is CompTIA Network Plus. Before you join the panel, make sure you update your Zoom client. It's very important. They put out a new security update, so you got to update your client. If you don't, client's not updated, it's not going to work. All right. Let me move on to the next one. This one is number 5, CompTIA Network Plus. CompTIA Network Plus certifies a tech professional's ability to work with IT infrastructure holistically, including everything from designing functional networks to troubleshooting existing ones. Unlike more specific certs, AWS and Azure, that cover proprietary systems. This one is vendor neutral and can be applied to virtually any product or system. Network Plus sets you up for future growth, comprising a core element of 5 out of 12 CompTIA stackable certifications. So this is true. Network Plus, and people laugh at this, people who are in the, the ivory towers of tech, they laugh at the Network Plus, but Network Plus is still critical. There's still a lot of general information about networking architecture that most people can't really answer in a job interview. If you can pass a Network Plus, especially with a high score, you're probably going to be primed for CCNA. Okay. It's one thing to study for exam, but it's another thing to actually understand the technology in depth to really to really speak about it with confidence. Far too often, I know a person in Canada who works in tech, but she has no in-depth knowledge of the technology that she's supporting. She just goes by the guidelines or whatever the documents that were written and just kind of rehearses it. And that's how she does her job. And so what happens here is she doesn't understand network layers and network stacks and routing and switching and RJ45 versus fiber, copper, telephony, voice over IP, which protocols are being used, 443, port 80, so on, 3389. There's a whole lot of moving pieces here to really understand what exactly am I securing? What exactly am I trying to administrate or administer? They get caught up in the lifestyle of IT. I'm an IT person, I'm an IT exec, I do this, I do that. That's cool and all, but in a presentation, if you had to sit in front of C-level people, you wouldn't be able to explain in layman terms what's going on. Not saying that the Network Plus is the end all be all, but if you're trying to get into IT, the Network Plus is critical. I don't see any reason as to why you would try to skip over this if you haven't taken any other certification. If you can pass Network Plus, my perspective is it's going to boost your confidence going into CCNA. So what I recommend is that people who are taking Network Plus, schedule that the day before you take your CCNA, because 1/3 of what's on the Network Plus is on the CCNA. And so you build your confidence when you pass it, but you also take fresh knowledge into the questions that's on the Network Plus into the CCNA. And then therefore you have, fresh intelligence going into your CCNA exam. Yeah, Mutant Black says, the Black brain trusts some jobs will let you get the job in networking with at least Network Plus. Yeah. Yeah, the Network Plus, the more recent one that they're talking about here, N10007, they have simulators or performance-based questions in the exam. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them in there. If you can't pass the exam without passing the performance-based questions. If you fail any of those performance-based questions, they're weighted heavily. So it's going to cost you on the exam. A lot of people who have taken the Network Plus back when it was Network Plus 001, 002, 003, those were, those people haven't taken the recent one. I've seen all the content for the recent one, and it is pretty brutal. If I was just getting into IT and I saw that stuff on the Network Plus and I wasn't really all that sure, I would probably fail that exam. That's pretty much it. There's some Cisco questions on there, like how do you configure a router or how do you configure a switch? It's on there. You got to answer those questions.
What's going on, Mike?
Yo, what's up, dude?
Chilling.
All right. So yeah, Network Plus, you can do that in a month. You can study that in a month. My recommendations, get the Pearson IT certification book for Network Plus. Definitely, I think that's the only book I can recommend. I used that book years ago to take the Network Plus and the Security Plus and the A Plus and the Server Plus and so on and so forth. And those books have been great to me. Yeah, Mannix is right. Firewalls too. Yeah, I forgot about that. They talk about firewalls on there as well. You got to configure a firewall on there. I like Mike Myers. I like his video content more than I like his written content. I like his video content. Yeah, Maddox says Pearson on everything. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of Pearson. I love their books, man. Love them. Big stickler about them. CompTIA A+, we've talked about this many times before, but I'll just go over it again. While many of the certifications we're recommending aim to boost your career upward, CompTIA's A+ is a bit different. Often described as an entry-level rite of passage for IT technicians, approximately half of the more than 2 million certifications issued by CompTIA are A+. This cert is required to be employed as an IT tech by Dell, Intel, and HP, and is one of the primary requirements for Department of Defense IT personnel. Yeah, Mugen Black in the chat can tell you about DoD and those levels of IT jobs that they do require A+ and Network Plus. So he's in the chat. He can tell you about that.
My younger brother, he does it. He works for the state. It's for a state government department, and that's basically, even on that level, it's the same thing. It's what was required, bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I should actually have him on sometime, or have him. This is my younger brother, man. He's kind of deep in the game. I need to hit him up and try to get him on one time and talk about this.
Yeah, I didn't know you had a little brother. I thought you were a little brother.
I'm like, I have an older brother, like, who's half. He's like my half brother, but then, like, from like my dad's and my mom, so I'm the oldest out of like all my dad's kids. So I have a younger half brother. Yeah, it's
yeah. Yeah. Maddox says true on Myers. Yeah. So Maddox and I see eye to eye on this type of stuff. Mutual Black says, at the Black Brain Trust, I'm not so sure if you answered it, but do you think the Cisco DevNet will hold as much weight as Azure or AWS? It depends on the role that you're going in for. It depends on the role that you're going in for. Most companies don't care too much about dev certifications so much. I'm not sure why you would want to take Cisco DevNet anyways, but unless you work in DevOps, it doesn't really mean anything.
Well, I was gonna say, if you had to pick a choice, right? Like which one to get, like if you've already gone the Cisco route, okay, that you can leverage that experience and that knowledge in the current environment. If you were gonna pick one over the other, though, getting into something, I don't know. I think I would go the Azure AWS route.
Well, it depends on what the responsibilities are. Depends on what the responsibility is going to be, because in that area, when you get into that space, you don't really need a certification. You need really to have a skill set, because it's dev and DevOps is methodology. So you don't really certify methodology so much. You really focus more on practical application. So, but yeah, the A+ is 2 exams. You can do both. My recommendation is to do it Saturday and a Sunday if you can. That way, if you do pass the first one, you're going to be good going into the second one on Sunday. I always recommend getting the first early. I always recommend getting the first slot, usually around 12 o'clock noon, because when you get up, you always want to do a quick rundown on things just before you go in, looking over your notes, because you can't bring your book inside the test center. They ban all that stuff. So you want to make sure before you go upstairs and log in and register for your exam, you want to make sure you're at home, you're going through stuff before you even leave the house. Maybe if you take an Uber or Lyft there, you can probably do that too. Just on your way to the test center, breeze through that stuff. And then when you get to the test center, just make sure you put your bag in the locker and whatnot, and you don't have anything out, because if you do, they may disqualify you for the exam. But you can do it in 30 days though. All right, number 7 is Cisco CCT data center. With the rapid advancement of cloud computing, it's easy to forget that on-prem data centers aren't going anywhere and are still preferred for many applications. The CCT data center 010151 certification validates a technician's ability to install and replace hardware components, as well as install, configure, backup, and restore software on various Cisco products. The certification is a broad-based accreditation that should be considered for onboarding new network administrators or new or aspiring IT professionals. It's also useful as finishing touch for network administrators with years of experience with working on Cisco equipment. I don't know the certification per se. Okay, I'm not really familiar with it. I think this is kind of new. I don't see the value in it because I've never heard of anybody asking for a Cisco data center certification, and it's only proprietary to Cisco products. Many data centers don't actually use Cisco all that much. I do see them using Palo Alto stuff now. Juniper, it gets used a lot too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not really too familiar with this right here.
Yeah, this is new. But if it's free, take it. You're trying to get into a network admin role, or you're trying to get into a network engineer role, maybe this might help. I don't know. I think as an alternative, I can recommend is the Server Plus from CompTIA. It's vendor neutral, and it actually makes a lot of sense from a life cycle standpoint, because you don't have to renew it. It's actually indefinite. So once you pass it, you pass it. That's it. I think Christian wants the link. Let me give Christian the link.
Hey, Mike, what's up? I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, would you I'm looking with my CCNA studies. I'm thinking about also going back to back with DevNet, with the new Cisco DevNet. Do you think that's going to hold as much weight as AWS or Azure?
Are you trying to work on AWS? Are you trying to work on Azure? Or what is the actual goal here?
I mean, I want something that's going to correlate to like some type of automation cert that's going to make me more marketable.
No.
Or cloud or automation cert.
No. No. Because when you get to automation, or what we call network orchestration or security orchestration, certifications don't matter in that area. It's really about skill set. Because they're going to ask you to do whiteboard exercises in an interview, and your certification is not going to matter at that point.
Okay. Just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. If you're trying to get into automation, you might want to look at Google's IT certification for Python automation. That's probably more applicable to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm seeing I'm going through David Bomble's material. I got it on my Udemy, and some of his stuff, some of the new Cisco stuff is dealing with Python and Linux. So I see those spectrums the gap is being bridged between those primarily.
Yeah. All the people I know who work in automation, in terms of IT automation, they don't have certs.
They just taught this. They just learned the skill and probably all right.
Yeah, it is more of one of those sort of applied science type of things where there's not really a cert per se, but it's more of your ability to create something based on the concept of like artificial intelligence or AI. That's what's largely going to determine it. So it is going to be what Mike is saying, like where you're going to have to whiteboard some shit out. Like you're going to have to draw it out to some people and so conceptually they look at it and go, oh, okay.
Yeah, because you have to walk. There's a process of orchestration that you have to walk it through. You don't have to be 100% correct. You just need to walk the logic through your IT hiring manager or whoever. Because in automation, you're gonna go through 3 or 4 interviews in one day. Okay, you're gonna go through, HR, and then after HR, you're gonna go through whoever like the sysadmin is, or whoever the IT manager is, and then from there they're gonna have you interview one of the other people on the team. You're gonna go through 3 or 4 people before you even make that decision. So a certification is not gonna help you in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to to clear that up.
Yeah, it's nice to have it, but it doesn't. It's not the end all be all. It's not the deal breaker. I wouldn't focus on something like that. I would focus a lot more on getting Python down pat to a point where you can actually develop something and put it in your GitHub, because they're gonna ask you for your GitHub. They're gonna say, "What's your GitHub?"
All right.
Yeah. Do you have a GitHub?
No, I don't. I've been to GitHub. I've never created a GitHub account.
Yeah, create one. Create one and attach that to your LinkedIn. That's going to be more important, because they're gonna go look at your work, because that's what they want to see.
Yeah. So I mean, I can come across your LinkedIn. I see a link to your GitHub. I go to your GitHub. I see what you got there, and then I hit you up.
So just so I'm clear, AWS and Azure aren't really, they're cloud certs, right? They're cloud-based certs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And DevNet, the Cisco DevNet, that's also in that same spectrum. That's what I wanted to see. I just wanted to know, do you think that is on the same level? That's going to be in the same spectrum as them? Because as those certs, because I know everyone's going for those certs, and sometimes I notice that people follow a trend and they'll go for all the hot certificates, and by the time everybody and their mother's gotten that cert, now there's a new one, and now people are trying to jump on the bandwagon and get that cert as quickly as possible.
It depends. It's what the market demands. The market demands CCNA, not so much as Cisco DevNet, right? CCNA is a hot brand product for certifications, especially right now for remote networking and stuff like that. That's really hot right now, right?
Right.
DevNet's not really all that spicy, right? It's a little too early, not really high in demand, not really necessary. Why waste time studying on something that's not hot?
Okay, got it.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for the info.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
I actually ran into 2 diaspora gentlemen today. One was from Ghana. He's a web developer. Another is a retired web developer from Haiti. So I told him about the channel. I sent one of them the link. So hopefully he listens or he catches on. Mm-hmm. He sends more people.
Mm-hmm.
I've been at the I've been at the help desk now, where I'm at on the installation I'm working at. I guess I'm a part of the mission essential personnel. So a lot of other people are working.
Are you second shift or third?
I'm on first shift. So a lot of the
third?
No, I'm on the first shift.
No, I'm saying, can you do third is what I'm asking. Because third pays more money.
I think where I'm at, it's all the same. I could be wrong. I haven't, because I'm a contractor still. So a lot of us, we try and keep the pay on the wraps, even from each other sometimes.
Yeah.
So
but typically, like your third shifts are usually more money though. That just like usually, I'm just saying usually that's companies when that's kind of one of the incentives for taking those hours is that it pays more. That's usually what it is. And that's even from like my own personal HR recruiting experience. Like I had jobs where when I staffed mills and the mills were operating 24 hours a day, okay, I would let them know the salary rates, and like for that third shift, it was always more money.
Yeah, just look into it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they rotate us actually. That's the thing. They kind of rotate us. So what's going on where I'm at now? I'm running into some guys that are on the same entry level as me. Some of them have like 2 or 3 certs. Like they just went to one of those. They use their government or their veterans benefits and studied and took certs back to back to back. And one of them is certified ethical hacker, security plus, all types of stuff. But he has no experience, and he could have had better job offers, but family and logistics and where they want to live. Because I'm here in Florida, and I just now coming into this game late, realizing that Florida's IT market, in terms of entry level jobs that pay better, is saturated because this is where people come outside of places like California. It's not.
Is there a lot of I'm not up on Florida's tech sector. Like what companies are there?
Florida has the big tech sector with Disney and all the sports teams and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so, and plus, there's no income tax in Florida.
Right. Disney would be okay. No, definitely. That one makes sense.
Yeah, Disney's pretty big down there in terms of tech. So,
and like Universal.
Yeah,
Universal Studios.
A lot of like entertainment tech type stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, sports tech too. Sports tech. You remember, there's about 8 teams down there.
Yeah, that's the other.
And then we got some of the bases. So me being DoD having a clearance, the job that I'm at now, most people take the job because it puts them up for a top secret. And I guess I'm in that now. I still got to fill out my equips or whatever for that. Some people they find jobs that will continue they'll find a different or better job that'll continue to sponsor their investigation, because it technically takes up to 3 years or whatever. So that's why a lot of people take this entry level position with this company. And it could have been worse. Some of the other companies, like I'm coming into this game realizing that when you read like the requirements and the description, they want somebody to have 3 years experience, but at the same time, it's entry level. It still says entry level. And then you listen to like some of these video tech YouTubers, and they say that even if you're a help desk, you can get out in like 6 months. You can find a better position within 6 months, especially if you study and get other certifications. But I'm starting to see that nothing is 100% verbatim.
No. You want to get a year under your belt. You want to get a year under your belt, and you kind of master that, and then you want to start looking, because 6 months is to a hiring manager. It's like, I don't know, this guy, he's kind of hopping around and stuff like that. Typically with help desk, you kind of stay for a year, 9 months at best. So I would roll out the whole year, master it, and keep networking, have good rapport, build good rapport within the workplace, man, and add those people to your LinkedIn. Because once your LinkedIn profile becomes more broader, because you expanded your network, now everybody else wants to see what you're doing. And so
I'm actually, well, that's the thing. Like when I started, the day I started, I got a message on my LinkedIn for a position in Germany with a bigger company, Leidos.
Yep.
Or Leidos, and they're like same level. They know I don't have the experience, but because it's overseas, they were gonna do COLA, and I think they were gonna sponsor the top secret also. But how would it look to a bigger company knowing that I just started and I'm hopping on their bandwagon? I looked at it that way, and I actually explained that to the recruiter. And I actually explained that to the recruiter.
I'm sorry.
So I'm still in touch with them, that is another option, especially with this whole thing going on and whatnot, because I may go back to the sandbox for a contract, or even like Somalia after this shit after this is over with.
Yeah. So
hey, were you saying something, Josh?
Yeah, how y'all doing, man? No, I was just gonna hop in and say, yeah, he's right. Leidos is a great a big company, a big contracting company. They actually just won the contract that I'm currently working on, and it's like a $5 billion. I can't remember the number. I don't want to say the wrong number, but it was in the news a while back. They won it from Perspecta. I actually work for Perspecta, and Lados actually won. Perspecta had that contract for like over 15 years.
Wow.
The U.S. Navy, and they outbid or won the contract from Perspecta, Lados. So they're a real big company. I'm actually about to start working for them in a couple months. So
Already, Josh?
yeah, well, I mean, it's the same position.
Oh.
I mean, you know how
But
contracting work. All you doing is
you
switching
said they won.
shirts.
Yeah, you said they won. They won, right?
What's that?
You said they won. They won the contract.
Yeah, they won a contract, and basically it's just switching shirts at the end of the day.
Yeah. Now, Nugent, are you still actively serving or no?
No, I'm guard. I'm actually transitioned out of the guard, so I'm really just contracting. So my guard unit understands what's going on. So no, I'm not active duty or actively serving.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me get through these last two. We got Maddox on the panel as well. What's going on? Microsoft. Number 8, Microsoft MTA Database Fundamentals. This Microsoft Technology Associate Certification is a baseline accreditation that evaluates introductory skills and knowledge of databases. The specific focus tends to be on relational databases such as Microsoft SQL Server. Although hands-on experience certainly helps, it isn't required to obtain the certification. One of the primary benefits of this cert is that it gets your foot in the door with the Microsoft Certified Professional community, which can be an important step if you're just getting started in the career field. Yeah, I agree with this. I think these certifications are actually free if you go to certain public libraries in certain cities and stuff like that, like New York and Boston and stuff like that. You can get these certifications. I don't live too far away from Microsoft. I live like 5 minutes away from NERD, which is New England Research and Development Center here in Boston. So they do have these certifications vouchers on the table and stuff like that when you walk in. Because a part of what the initiative that we have here is that all tech companies must have allocated resources for impacted communities. So the Black community is an impacted community. So they have floor space and stuff like that set up for minorities to get training and stuff like that, so you can actually go there. So number 9 is Microsoft Windows 10 MD100 is one of the 2 exams required to earn the Modern Desktop Administrator Associate certificate. The other being MD101. If you already are or planning to become a sysadmin in a Microsoft enterprise environment, consider this a mandatory baseline certification. The exam split primary knowledge into 2 parts, with MD100 focusing on deploying and maintaining Windows specifically, while MD101 cues in on operating system apps and policies and profiles. Yeah. So here's my recommendation for this. Take the A+ first and then go right into this. If your whole idea is to be a Windows sysadmin, okay? What you're going to learn on the A+ is going to be critical to passing this. You can try to pass this. I've seen people fail the MCP back in the day, man, and it can be pretty brutal if you're not really specific, because there's your way of doing things and then there's the Microsoft way of doing things. If you don't do it the Microsoft way, you're not going to pass it.
Hey.
Yeah, what's going on?
For the Windows 10 one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took that 3 times. Yeah.
Really?
You had to know how to do it the Microsoft way.
Yep. See?
And this changes every time they update the version. Like when it was like 1803 and you went to 1809, when it goes to 1809, yeah, you got to know everything about that new update and how it works and how it applies. It's like, if you want to hurry up and do this test, hurry up and do it before September when they come out with the new major update for Windows 10.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, I know a lot of people who always fail it on the first time. They used to have a free, actually, they do have a free retake. If you go to our community tab, go to the IT certifications for cheap post that I posted last month. There's one there. It says when you buy the certification, you get a free retake with it, because they know people are going to fail. I don't care how much time you've had in IT. If you don't do it the Microsoft way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man. That's why I say take the A+ first, because once you get that victory down with the A+, you build your confidence going into the the Microsoft certification. There's still some little bit of crossover between things on the A+ and the Microsoft Certs. So I would say maybe 1/3 or 1/4 of what's on that on the A+ is going to apply in the Microsoft Windows Cert. So all right. What's this last one is number 10, Microsoft Windows 10. That's the same thing, 101. So, and the last one is number 11, Microsoft 365 Identity and Services. The Microsoft 365 Certified Enterprise Administrator Expert certificate requires passing 2 exams, MS 100 and MS 101, before taking both exams and earning the certification. However, you need to complete at least one of the following prerequisites: Microsoft 365 Certified Modern Desktop Administrator Associate, Teamwork Administrator Associate, Security Administrator Associate, Messaging Administrator Associate, Productivity Solutions Expert, MCSE, Teams Administrator Associate. Of these 6 certifications, we recommend all but the MCSE Productivity Solutions Expert, which will be retired June 30th, 2020, and will expire as a prerequisite at 1 year afterward. An Enterprise Administrator Expert has a working knowledge of various Microsoft 365 workloads, including Exchange, SharePoint, Skype for Business, or Windows as a Service. Each one of the prerequisite accreditations focuses on the foundational element of the Microsoft 365 world. So select one that is most applicable to your current or desired position. Yeah, this is true. This certification is critical now because everyone's going to cloud, okay? I don't care, especially schools. I know a lot of schools are adopting Google enterprise services, but there's still a lot of small companies that are trying to get off of Exchange and go straight to 365. And so they need somebody with those skills.
I wonder if this one got extended to the end of the year since the human malware thing went out. Because they were canceling a bunch of Microsoft certs at the end of June, but they went ahead and extended some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these are the 11, man. Additional skills you should consider mastering. We're going to get into this as well. Although certifications are both useful and valuable in the IT world, they are not the only way to advance your career. Adding various skills to your repertoire can accelerate your advancement and set you apart from your peers. We've identified 5 knowledge areas that can provide a boost to your career: Linux CLI, command line interface, Python, Bash scripting, Docker, Microsoft Flow Power Automate. Previously called Microsoft Flow Power Automate is a cloud-based software that's used to create and automate tasks and workflow across a variety of services and applications without having to be reworked by developers. As an automation tool, it can streamline anything from content management and simple push notifications, incredibly complex processes that involve numerous stages. You can also leverage it to automatically copy files and post them to shared locations, as well as systematically collecting information to collect in a SQL database. Interesting. So to answer Mugen Black's question from earlier about automation, here it is right here. This is what they recommended. Yeah, all sysadmins have to know command line. You're gonna be lost without it. Can't GUI your way around anymore. I see somebody else is trying to get on.
Hey,
What it do? What up?
no, I was just gonna add, and you could do almost everything in PowerShell scripting on Windows systems. You can do
Yep.
almost anything. Like currently, one of our guys on my team, they writing a script to handle the upgrade from window school server 2008 to 2012, and all that's gonna be done via the command line. So well, not command line, but PowerShell scripts,
Yep.
and it'll handle it all, as well as all the patching. All the patching now is done PowerShell. You know what I'm saying? Scripting. So, and then they'll
Yeah.
test and then roll it out.
What happened to Josh? Or was it me?
I think he was just finishing what he was saying.
Oh, okay.
I think. Josh, you there?
Yeah, I'm good. That
Oh.
was it. That's all I wanted to say.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, we got Richard has his hand up. Hold on a second. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead, man.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was that if you can, I'm surprised they didn't put virtualization on it. I find that to be strange. Although Docker is app V, but it's not actually true virtualization from a desktop perspective. Virtualization right now is really hot because there's a lot of companies who didn't provision a lot of systems for remote access. But people got to use their desktops at home to actually log in. But what happens if you don't have VM set up that you can push down to the end user, and you can control all of that end user behavior and data? That stuff is really critical. If you can come in there and you can whip up something like that, Citrix, VMware, or Oracle's virtualization, you're basically a hot shot in the workplace, man. Most organizations are not set up for this. Even our organization is not set up for this. And we have 100,000 users. We're just not set up for it. We're not equipped for it. We don't have the bandwidth. We don't have the infrastructure set up. We got caught off guard by COVID, and we're paying the price for it. Everybody's paying the price for it. VMware is really hot right now. I'm surprised they didn't put that on the list of certifications to study for. I know Christian is a big advocate for Hyper-V, but what do I know?
I'm finishing up my VMware server this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. All right, this next item. Oh, let's go to Richard Victor Dixon. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, y'all?
What it do? What it do?
Chilling, man. Yeah, I think I'm out you finally done convinced me to try to get a cert now, man. I've been always putting it off. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and do it, man.
What are you looking to get into?
While you was talking, I actually just took the MTA database fundamentals. I took the sample quiz just now. I passed it, just missing just 2.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm thinking, all that studying with sub, I can probably just pass that pretty easily.
Oh, get a book.
I never wanted to take the money to actually. I was thinking I could do what everybody else was doing in the class, just muscle my way into that. But I mean, it was working. But man, everybody know my situation. I get hired and I'm gonna get fired. So you know what I'm saying? That was happening. I'm like, I'm kind of like, I gotta switch. I've been kind of have to switch up how do things. But I think it will look good if I still get this cert. And I was kind of reading that companies need so much help right now. I think maybe a company might be more flexible now because of what stuff going on. So I'm thinking I might try again. I had just stopped looking. Actually, I've been focusing more on the sales and marketing, and more kind of like freelance type style programming. I've been switching more to PHP. I'm in a Unity class right now with C#, dealing with the game and the VR stuff. But I think I might try the SQL again with everything was going on right now. But I do got a question for you. Even with me, even though I feel like I know I passed that test, I know cloud is finna be very important right now. So you think I should take the AWS or should I just go ahead and take the database fundamental?
What is your
What's your
ultimate goal?
thought?
What is the ultimate goal for you? What do you want out of all of this? Is the real question. Are you just trying to get a job, or are you trying to really focus on a specific area?
I just want to get a job, but I want something that's going to pay me. My main goal is to do the VR,
So
which is what I'm doing with the Unity class right now.
So VR is the ultimate goal, but you want to get into tech. You gotta kind of weigh this out. Do you want to wait it out and get to the VR piece, or do you want?
Well, I know the VR piece gonna take a while. Well,
Okay.
I'm looking at I can pass the test right now and get a job. You get what I'm saying? Pretty sooner than that.
I do that. You already know SQL good enough. You took the practice test. You feel comfortable with it.
Mhm.
I get a couple of books, study it, get that cert, get your foot in the door someplace. And that little bit
Yeah,
of money that you make from that job, go ahead and start buying some more classes and everything that you need and start doing more VR. But
Mhm.
at least get in the door.
yeah.
Yeah. I would actually follow what Maddox is saying. But I would definitely look at SQL administrator cert. That's really critical. See, I think Keep It Techie is a DBA person right now. He might be more of a sysadmin, but he he's worked in that area, so he can probably. I don't even know if he's certified in that area. To be honest, Keep It Techie.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not.
Yeah, see.
Well, a lot of
It's-
people in sub not neither. It's
But let me-
just my situation, man. But I'm thinking in this climate, I might be able to get over that now.
No,
But
bro,
let me-
I know your situation. I'm telling you, get that cleaned up, man. Get somebody that can write a letter for you, a recommendation to have this removed. Tell them that this is impacting my ability to find work in a growing emerging economy. That this is hurting me. I've seen it done. I've seen it done before, so I know it works. When they look at your past, all it's going to do is going to say NA, not available. It's because it's been expunged. So that's how that works.
I got a couple of my guys at my job now that they had that done just so they can get in. So yeah.
Yeah, get that taken care of.
And then also, bro, I mean, we all understand where you're trying to get to based on what you just said, the VR side. But I didn't get to be a database administrator right now by just looking specifically for database work at the end of the day. I mean, you got to start somewhere. So, I mean, even if you get a job that's outside of the scope of what you're trying to get to, what you're actually trying to get to, the whole SQL thing and everything. But sometimes you gotta take that help desk position. Or sometimes, I mean, just to get a job, you know what I'm saying? So you can have the experience on your resume. That's the key. They not only look at the certs that you have, they look at, okay, this person is dependable. He been working in this position at a help desk position for 6 months straight. There ain't been no issues, or a year, whatever. Ain't been no issues with this person. He show up on time. You get those people like what Mike was saying earlier that can vouch for you on your LinkedIn or whatever. And and then that experience is priceless. At the end of the day, you can't pay for that like you can, pay and take a test for a cert. The experience is priceless. So I mean, sometimes I think I said this once before. Sometimes you got to go down to get up.
Yeah, take
That's
one
the way
step
I
back,
say
take
it.
2 steps forward, man.
Yep.
That's the way how it works, man. Yeah. So and to revise my recommendation, I would definitely look at what you call it, Microsoft SQL Administrator cert. Which I think you need to have a good understanding of Windows as well. So I would actually look a little bit deeper in that. I'm going to go over it in a few minutes, but just give me a few minutes.
Okay.
better recommendation so everybody else is watching this can get a better understanding.
Yeah. I know you got to go on with it. Go ahead.
All right, this one is from Phoronix.com. Rail 9 likely to drop older x86 64 CPUs. Fedora can better prepare with Enterprise Linux next. Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 will likely see support for older x86 64 CPUs eliminated to focus on more modern x86 64 Intel AMD families. With that, Red Hat developers working on Fedora have been working on Enterprise Linux Next proposal to not only vet such x86 64 build changes, but also to provide a feedback workflow for other changes. Brought up last month already was an extra build route for testing x86 64 microarchitecture updates on Fedora. Currently, Fedora and Rail support x86 64 CPUs going back to the original K8 CPUs, but with Rail 9, some middle ground will likely be pursued of aiming to support more recent x86 64 families in newer instruction set extensions by default, while still supporting a diverse enough range of hardware to be in production use cases during Rail 9's life cycle. So I know Christian is very familiar with this CPU. He's been around a while. So the problem with supporting older CPUs is that they tend to have vulnerabilities in them, and so that they can be easily exploited. And so they don't want to add any more support to something new, to a new build, if there is vulnerabilities in it. You know, you just kind of cut it out, and then you mitigate the security threat from anything going forward. You don't want old hardware being bunched up with new software where there's problems. So I'm not going to read too much into this, but definitely interesting stuff. Something you want to keep in mind as well.
If I get add to that, that to me that's almost like a roll down from IBM, you know, because IBM acquired them a while back, and based on what I've seen, they kind of you know, more government side or whatever, and kind of follow the same models similar to Microsoft. You know, how Microsoft is getting rid of support for a lot of older hardware for the seasons. So that's kind of, I look at it like it's rolling down from IBM, who just recently acquired them. So, yo, there's nothing wrong with it though. I agree with what you said. I was just bringing it out.
The less you support, the better.
Yep.
All right, the next one is from opensource.com. Get started with Bash scripting for sysadmins. Learn the commands and features that make Bash one of the most powerful shells available. Let me explain this out. The Bash shell is definitely not the only shell out there, but it's one of the most powerful. This makes it a popular choice for sysadmin system administrators needing to develop serious applications that go beyond a simple laundry list of commands to run on a system. There are lots of great uses for other shells. I default to TCSH for Git hooks, for instance, but Bash is an easy choice for serious scripting, and here's why. To create a function in a Bash script, use the keyword function foo. So this is part of the code. Also, I recommend, if you have not done so, download Notepad++ and write your scripting in there. It actually structured it. It can actually structure it in a way that you can copy it easily from Notepad++ right into your Vim or something like that. So a lot of times people try to write it in Microsoft Word or Notepad, and it's like, nah, that's not gonna cross over correctly. All right. I'm not gonna go over all of this, but this is basically them outlining a step-by-step of how to use Bash for the first time. How Bash stacks up. Redirection is a great convenience function when interacting with a shell. And while all major shells support some manner of redirection, not all features are available in all shells. Corn shell uses the same syntax as bash. ZSH uses the same syntax as bash. Fish is partial support. TCSH is partial support. So when you source a file in the shell, you're importing the file into your shell environment. Most shells handle this adeptly, but some provide a few extra features for your convenience. For example, when you use source in bash, it searches your current directory for the file you reference. If it can't find the file to source, it then searches your path instead. It's a small bonus, but it's so convenient because it allows you to store common functions in a centralized location on your drive and then treat your environment like an integrated development environment. You don't have to worry about where your functions are stored because you know they are in your local equivalent of your user/include bin. So no matter where you are when you source them, bash finds them. How bash stacks up: bash is the only shell that searches both current directory and your path when you use either the source command and or the abbreviated notion. So if you're new to programming, learning bash is very important. Learning Linux command line is very important. Before you can even start talking about writing Python and code and stuff like that. To go from nothing to Python can be somewhat of a leap. But if you understand bash, it actually helps your brain understand how code functions from a scripting standpoint. And so Python is a scripting language. It's not so much of a high, deep level programming language. You don't really write everything in Python. You actually script everything in Python. So learn bash is my recommendation. I think everybody should learn bash. You should spend a few hours a month just going through bash. I don't have to work on bash so much because I don't work in that area anymore. But when I did, bash was really critical. I probably spent 50% of the time in bash.
And if you got Windows 10, you can download the bash environment and practice on it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get that Windows subsystem.
Yeah.
Linux system.
I forgot the name of it at the time. It was like that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me drop the link in there for Notepad++ because I see some people asking about it.
Use Notepad++ on a daily at my job.
I use it to write up all my incident reports and stuff like that. I like it because whenever I run into like a system crash or like a forced reboot and I wasn't really planning for it because the organization, they're going to push the update anyways while you're at lunch or something like that.
Yep. I
come back and I'm like, oh shit, all my work is gone. Nope, Notepad++ saved it before it even rebooted. So, but there have been times in the past I've written lots of freaking code, well not code but script, and system rebooted, but my Notepad++ back then did not recover. And so I'd be grinding my teeth like I just lost 7 days of fucking work. I have to start from scratch now. So nothing is ever on time in IT.
No.
All right. Next item on the docket is from howtogeek.com, how to use regular expressions on Linux. We just got finished talking about bash, but regex is really important too, which is what I used to do in my other role. Wondering what those weird strings of symbols do on Linux? They give you command line magic. We'll teach you how to cast regular expression spells and level up your command line skills. So I'm just going to read this paragraph and then you can explore regex on your own. Regular expressions are a way to find matching character sequences. They use letters and symbols to define a pattern that search that search for in a file system and a file stream. There are several different flavors of regex. We're going to look at the version used in common Linux utilities and commands like grep, the command that prints lines that match a search pattern. Entire books have been written about regular expressions, so this tutorial is merely an introduction. There are basic and extended regexes, and we'll use the extended here. To use the extended regular expressions with grep, you have to use the -e extended option. Because this gets tiresome very quickly, the egrep command was created. The egrep command is the same as grep e combination. You just don't have to use the -e option every time. If you find it more convenient to use egrep, you can. However, just be aware it's officially deprecated. It's still present in all the distributions we check, but it might go away in the future. Of course, you can always make your own aliases, so your favored options are always included for you. For examples, we'll use a plain text file containing a list of geeks. Remember that you can use regular expressions with many Linux commands. We're just using grep as a convenient way to demonstrate them. Here are the contents of the file. So you have the user, and then lessgeeks.txt, okay? The first part of the file is displayed. You have all the names listed, and then it searches geeks.txt. Let's start with a simple search pattern and search the file for occurrences of the letter O. Again, because we're using -e extended regex option in all of our examples, we type the following: grep -e O in quotation geeks.txt. So it's going to look for the letter O in all of the text of geeks.txt. And it's going to highlight them. Okay. I'm not going to go over all of this because I think this is something you should do in your spare time. You should actually read this article because it's getting down to the basics. So you want to know bash, you want to know regular expressions, you want to have Notepad++ available to you. This is going to help build your confidence in going into Linux, because Linux is going to be very critical for being a sysadmin. You can't be a sysadmin and not use Linux. It's almost impossible. I don't care if you use it 10% of the time. You need to know Linux.
Yep, I 100% agree. And just to add to that, a little bit, grep ties to bash as well. You know what I'm saying? You could put call these expressions during your bash scripts to, let's say you got a list of servers or something and you're looking for specific servers. And to run some code on whatever script, then you can use grep to search a file that you have with a list of servers in it to pull out the specific servers that you want to run whatever code on. And so all this stuff ties together, man. Grep is a wonderful command. I recommend you type in man and then space grep, and it'll give you all the features of grep, and it's been around for years. It's a great function to know. So
yeah, definitely, man. A lot of people want to skip, the command line. You still need to know the command line. I don't care what Microsoft puts out there. Even Microsoft, if you use the latest version of Windows Server, it's almost a Linux environment. It's almost one-for-one a Linux environment. A lot of your Linux commands actually work in the command line of Windows Server now. So, Richard got his hand up. What's going on?
Yeah, I definitely can contest to that too. I actually had earlier this year around January, I had applied to a nonprofit coding boot camp in Washington. I actually could have got in, but she didn't give me enough time to study, and I didn't know that it was Linux and Bash on the test. So I tried to cram for it, but I didn't have enough time to cram for it. So yeah, that was a blowed opportunity for me because I never took the time to learn Linux or Bash. I passed the SQL part and all that, but
You're a little too bashful, man. Nah, there's a book called The Accidental Administrator, or The Accidental Sysadmin. I think that's the name of it. It's a really good book, man. It's like an overnight cram in the event that you've been handed the role of a sysadmin, and it gives you all of the what you need to know to be a sysadmin, especially Linux, right? So I really want to do something like that, like a survival guide, you know, for a help desk person who's delegated those responsibilities, man. All the like top 100 tasks a sysadmin would do, and you kind of just break it all down for a help desk person or a desktop.
what's the name of that book again, so I can write it down?
Let me find it. I think it's called the Accidental Sysadmin. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
See, one other thing too, I always kind of like overlooked the Linux and Bash thing. I felt like that was always more if you want a corporate job, I'm saying, yeah, you definitely need to know Linux or Bash.
Yeah, because
But doing well, like you can just know the particular programming languages, and pretty much, that'd be it.
Yeah.
And and I'm from sub camp, and a lot of people didn't know nothing. Actually, was getting the SQL jobs have been doing good. So my mind was always thinking, I'm going to be able to do the same thing. But of course, my situation, I can't. That's kind of difficult for me to do the same thing. Okay, that's the accidental administrator.
Yeah, the Accidental Administrator. It's a series of books, man. They do it for Cisco as well.
But that's not the particular one you talking about.
No, this
Bash.
is it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, all right, bad.
This is it. The book that I use, and everybody refers to it as the Bible. It's let me see if I can find it. I keep it on my desk.
It's pretty cheap too, 37, 36.
Oh, the handbook, yeah. Where's it at? Here it is, right here. Is this?
That's even cheaper. $17.99.
I don't know if this is the latest one. Yeah, I have the 4th edition. This is the 5th edition.
Oh, okay, that one. Okay.
Yeah, this is really good. This is the Bible. You don't actually sit down and read this. It's a go-to.
Yeah, like a reference book. Okay.
Yeah, it's a reference. It sits on your desk when you look cool in your office too. It's 1,000.
Yeah, Mike. I've seen that book. But once you understand Linux, can you go back on the website one time? Once you understand Linux a little bit more, this one is a whole lot better. Scroll down. The one right below it. The one right below it.
You talking about the pocket guide?
Yeah, that pocket guide is real good, and it's a small book, like very small book. You can actually put it in your pocket, but it has all the commands, and what they do. So, because you don't use these commands every single day, so yeah, I would recommend anybody get that one since it's so cheap as well for the Kindle, and you can just reference that or whatever as well. Because it's like super small. It's almost like a pamphlet size, but it has 274 pages. But it has all the commands in it as well.
Yeah, it's like the same size as a Jehovah's Witness Bible.
Yeah.
I'm going to help for that, man. Don't stand next to me. Keep it techy. But yeah, that's what that is, man. You want to pick up those books. I like the pocket guide too, but they do make it in what do they call it, in ebook format for your phone, for like the Android or your iPhone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cause I used to study for sub classes. I had the SQL Server PDF on my phone, like in between, like breaks and stuff. Like I always like go to it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's good shit, Mike. Yeah, I'm definitely going I'm definitely gonna probably buy that.
Yeah, you don't need to be an expert at Linux, man. You just need to be comfortable getting in there and actually logging in to root. Once you get accustomed to just logging into it, the idea of hitting those keystrokes is going to improve your confidence going into it, and so you just feel comfortable logging in to things, to different systems and whatnot, just via that. So I would definitely recommend learning that stuff before you even try to get into like a SQL role or something like that. And again, help desk, very rarely you're going to get into like command line, but if you can, that's going to separate you in the job interview from the next cat. So, all right, last item on the docket I want to go to from opensource.com. After 25 years, Lee made the switch to Linux and couldn't be happier. Here's what he uses. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, man. In 1994, my family bought a Macintosh Performance 475 as a home computer. I had used Macintosh SE computers in school and learned to type with Mavis Beacon teachers typing. I remember that. So I've been a Mac user for well over 25 years. Back in the mid 1990s, I was attracted to its ease of use. It didn't start with a DOS command prompt. It opened to a friendly desktop. It was playful. And even though there was a lot less software for Macintosh than PCs, I thought the Mac ecosystem was better just on the strength of KitPix and HyperCard, which I still think of as the unsurpassed, most intuitive creative stack. Even so, I still had the feeling that Mac was an underdog compared to Windows. I remember thinking the company could disappear one day. Flash forward decades later, and Apple is a behemoth, $1 trillion company. But as it evolved, it changed significantly. Some changes have been for the better, such as better stabilization, simpler hardware choices, increased security, and more accessibility options. Other changes annoyed me, not all at once, but slowly. Most significantly, I am annoyed by Apple's closed ecosystem, the difficulty of accessing photos without iPhoto, the necessity of using iTunes, and the enforced bundling of Apple Store ecosystem, even when I don't want to use it. Over time, I found myself working largely in the terminal. I used iTerm2 and the Homebrew package manager. I couldn't get all my Linux software to work, but much of it did. I thought I had the best of both worlds, the Mac OS graphical operating system and the user interface alongside the ability to jump into a quick terminal session. Later, I began using Raspberry Pi computers, booting Raspbian. I also collected a number of very old laptops rescued from the trash at universities, so it was by necessity. By necessity, I decided to try out various Linux distros. While none of them became my main machine, I started to really enjoy using Linux. I began to consider what it would be like to try running a Linux distro as my daily driver. But I thought the MacBook's comfort and ease, especially the hardware size and weight, would be hard to find in a non-Mac laptop. About 2 years ago, I began using a Dell for work. It was a larger laptop with an integrated GPU and dual booted Linux and Windows. I used it for game development, 3D modeling, some machine learning, and basic programming in C# and Java. I considered making it my primary machine, but I love the portability of my MacBook Air, and I continue to use that as well. Last fall, I started to notice my Air was running hot and the fan was coming on more often. My primary machine was starting to show its age. For years, I used the Mac's terminal to access Darwin's Unix-like operating system, and I was spending more and more time bouncing between the terminal and my web browser. Was it time to make the switch? I began exploring the possibilities for a MacBook like Linux laptop. After doing some research, reading reviews and message boards, I went with the long celebrated Dell XPS 13 Developer Edition 7390, opting for the 10th generation i7. I chose it because I love the feel of the MacBook, especially the slim MacBook Air. And the reviews of the XPS 13 suggested it was similar with really positive reviews of the trackpad and keyboard. Most importantly, it came loaded with Ubuntu. While it's easy enough to get a PC, wipe it, and install a new Linux distro, I was attracted to the cohesive operating system and hardware, but one that allowed a lot of the customization we know and love in Linux. So when there was a sale, I took the plunge and purchased it. What it's like to run Linux daily. I've been using the XPS 13 for 3 months and my dual booted Linux work laptop for 2 years. At first, I thought I'd want to spend more time finding an alternate desktop environment or Windows manager that was more Mac-like, such as Enlightenment. I tried several, but I have to say I like the simplicity of running GNOME out of the box. For one thing, it's minimal. There's not much GUI to get caught up in. In fact, it's intuitive and the overview takes only a couple minutes to read. I can access my applications through the application dashbar or a grid button to get the new application view. To access my file system, I click on the files icon in the dash. To open the GNOME terminal, I type Control-Alt-T or just Alt-Tab to switch between an application and an open terminal. It's also easy to define your own custom hotkey shortcuts. Beyond this, there's not much else to say. Unlike the Mac's desktop, there's not a lot to get lost in, which means there's less to distract me from my work or the applications I want to run. I didn't realize all the options or how much time I spent navigating Windows on my Mac. In Linux, there are just files, applications, and the terminal. I installed the i3 tiling window manager to do a test run. I had a few issues configuring it because I typed in Dvorak. And i3 doesn't adapt to the alternate keyboard configuration. I think with more effort, I could figure out a new keyboard mapping in i3. But the main thing I was looking for was a simple thing. Oh, simple tiling, sorry. I'm just going to skip past some of this stuff because this is all about daily driving Linux.
Oh, I'm smiling as you read, Mike.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, man, what's your favorite desktop environment? KDE, GNOME?
I actually use XFCE, and it's just another lightweight desktop environment.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
they got plenty. Yeah, they got plenty of them you can use. GNOME is, I would say, the closest. GNOME and Mate, I would say, are the closest to like a Windowsy feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, XFCE. I mean, it kind of has a lot more customization in it, and so I mean, and for people that don't know Linux, you can customize the hell out of it. You know, you can make it look and feel how you want it to, feel. So just a little bit more.
Let me finish this last paragraph. Here to
All
stay.
right.
I can't see myself switching back to a Mac as my daily computer. Now, when I use a Mac, I notice the abundance of options and extra steps needed to run an application or navigate somewhere. I also notice it runs a bit slower, or is that just in my head? That's a placebo effect. Now that I've made the switch to an open source ecosystem in Linux, I'm happy and have no need to switch back. I've heard we have 3 Macs in the workplace out of 100,000 systems, and we have a hard time monitoring them because we don't have an agent installed on them to collect data, collect logs and stuff from it. So we have no idea what they're doing on the machines. But I have to say that a lot of people, man, they're getting rid of their Macs. They don't really need a MacBook. It used to be cool to have a Mac in IT. Now guys just want that Lenovo or that Dell with Linux on it, and they're good.
Yep, and I'm not trying to, talk bad on Mac or Windows, but you can feel the difference when you install a Linux operating system on your computer. It's a lot more cleaner. It uses less memory, um, unless you opening up a whole bunch of tabs like most people do anyway. Then you'll start feeling the pain, the drag a little bit, but programs work a whole lot faster. Things are processed faster, um, depending on what all you have open, obviously. But you can feel the difference. That's all I wanted to say. And then, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm not talking this.
Oh, okay. And the applications. I mean, that's another thing I wanted to say. Applications. They have a lot of the same applications, and that's one of the things I try to talk about on my channel. You could do almost anything you could do on a Mac and Windows. You could do on Linux, unless you're a gamer, which Linux is starting to catch up on gaming. When it comes to like Steam and I forget what the other application is. But yeah, I can't get my sons out for Windows because they like Roblox, and
Yeah.
Roblox doesn't run on Linux. So no.
Now, what are you using, a desktop or a laptop for your Linux?
Oh, I'm using a laptop. Yeah, but I also have a Linux server. And that's another cool thing about Linux. I have a headless server with no keyboard or screen connected to it. The only time I have to connect to it is if, let's say, a network issue happens where the port is not working for whatever reason, and I need to get onto it right there. But it's headless. It runs all the time. I have Plex. Um, they have cloud software, so you can set up the whole Google Drive, all that stuff. I recently did a video on that. You could set up your own cloud service so you can keep all your data for yourself, and you can distribute it however you want to using that cloud software. But anything you could do on a Windows or Mac OS, you can do on Linux. So
Now, how much memory are you using on it? Oh, I see everyone's muted.
On the server, on his desktop.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have a laptop that I use, and I purchased this laptop. It had Windows 8 on it a while back. Um, I got it from Tiger Direct a while back, but I upgraded to like 16 gigs in it a while back. And currently my memory usage, because I have Zoom and I have the browser open, it's about 3 gigabytes, 3.7 gigabytes being used at the moment. And that's just because I have a lot of stuff open right now. But stable, like when you first boot it up, and uh the the desktop by itself takes up about 3 to 500 megabytes. I mean, yeah, 3 to 500 megabytes. Yep.
Yeah, it does look pretty sweet, man. I might have to give it a try, man. I've always been a big Fedora guy, mostly because of education. But yeah, the thing now, and that people should know, is that software as a service says, I can get all of my legacy applications now in cloud, right? So I don't necessarily need a Windows computer. The only reason I have a Windows computer is because that's what came with it. That's what supports it. I have an HP Elite X2 G4. It's basically like a Microsoft Surface, but it's HP's version. And it has 5G built into it. The Microsoft Surface did not have that at the time. So my point in saying that is this: the only thing keeping me on Windows is the hardware, not so much about my applications. There's no applications that I have that are necessary for me to keep Windows. So if I could get off of Windows and get onto Linux, I most certainly would.
Yeah, and they got different flavors out there. You know, like I said, it's some that look like Mac OS, and they'll kind of help you with the transition. And they got some that look similar to Windows. It's just a matter of finding the applications that you typically use on your Windows system. Just basically understanding that it's not going to be the same. You can't get all those. You can get some of them, but not all of them on the Linux platform. But they do have an equivalent to it for the Linux.
What keeps you coming back to Windows though?
Work. And I haven't had a Windows computer personally since 2015. I had Windows 8 on there. That was the last one that I liked on Windows, but it was mainly because of work.
Yeah.
Is what kept bringing me back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, see, Renault Cherry in the chat said he switched to Arch.
Oh, that's cool. Because Arch is considered like it's a little bit harder to install if you don't understand how computers work. Like as far as you have to build you have to set up the hard drive, yourself.
Partitioning.
Partitioning and all that. And if you don't understand that, then it'll be a little tough for you. But they do have a wiki for it. You can just follow the wiki. It's not hard, but if you don't have too good of an understanding, I recommend you download or install Manjaro, which is a Arch-based distribution, but it has a simple installer for it. But like main Arch, it's a little bit tougher because you have to go in. It's all command line actually setting up the system.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to install everything. You don't have, it's nothing going to guide you. And that's one good thing about it. You can kind of control what you put on the system. So, and yeah, like Ronald said, it's a rolling distribution, meaning that updates come. It ain't like Ubuntu, how they finna release 20.04 on Ubuntu.
Yeah.
So they roll out, their distribution like that.
Yeah. I don't have a multi monitor setup, so I can imagine what it looks like. Because the GUI looks really, really, really nice, man. It looks like it's really sharp, like it's mature, clean. Back in the days when you used to use things like Turbo Linux and all these other old SUSEs and stuff like that, man, those things used to be so two-dimensional. It was all flat and stuff like that, and it was really a drag to look at from the eye standpoint. I know a lot of people like to say, "Oh, I spend most of my time in command line." Yeah, that's cool and all, but when you actually need to do some real work, you got to get out of the command line. You can't send an email from command line. So,
actually, you can't. I'm just joking with you. You can, but I'm just just messing with you.
Yeah. Now, Maddox, do you use Linux at all?
I got a CentOS server. Company I work for, we started doing voice over IP, and the phone server itself actually runs on Linux. So I've been playing with CentOS, Ubuntu 16 and 18 for my GNS3 server and my EVE-NG server.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it right now.
Yeah. I have a Chromebook, so I do have Linux installed on my HP Chrome X2 Chromebook, which is actually a tablet. It flips into a tablet, detaches from the keyboard. I have tried to run Linux on there. Chrome, it does have Linux built into it, or it's built on top of Linux. The problem is that it's very limited, so certain things won't work. I tried to use Kali Linux on it because that's the reason what I had delegated it for. The CPU is just not up to snuff for it. So it looks cool, but once you start taxing it with some of these applications like Kali Linux, it's a no call, no show for it. So definitely got to look for something a little bit better. I've been looking on Groupon to see if I can find any like Lenovo X230s or X250s or X260s that the ultra portables to try to use as a Linux desktop. So, well, let's check out because you said Ubuntu is on version 20.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they in the, I
they're in the
guess
20s.
the is it the alpha? Think got released.
Oh, what you saying? Select?
No, I think the alpha got released. The the first release. So it's
Of
gonna
20.
look, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you can get it, or you may have to be signed up to get it. But I've seen some people with it. But the long-term release or the long-term support currently is 18.04. That's the one, and what I mean by long-term support, that the support typically lasts, was it 2 years? Or no, it's longer than that.
It's longer than that.
Yeah, like 5.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
was about to say
remember.
they still doing 16.
Yeah. Yep, because 16 is still supported.
Yeah, but if you're still on, let me look at this real quick. The latest release is 1910. Yeah, but if you're still on 16, you are, you're rolling the dice at that point because there's so many vulnerabilities within the kernel, right?
Yeah, but even G hasn't set up their stuff to work with 18 yet. So if you're doing a lot of network virtualization like me, yeah, he's still on 16.
Yeah. Crazy. I used to be a fan of Linux Mint. It was like a wham bam thank you man for me. I didn't feel like I got a whole lot of that, man. I wasn't all that blown away by it. Looked nice, and then that was it. I forget what happened in terms of like. I think because it's more crowdsourced than anything else, it's just more project based. But I don't know. I went through Linux distros like Starburst, man. Like it was just a big pack of chewables, man. I got a bellyache from it, so a headache. So
Go to if you can, go to distro watch.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, type distro watch and go there. Yeah, they actually have a list on the
Top
right.
10 downloads.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on the right hand side where it says page hit rankings, keep going down. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But yeah, right there. That lets you know how many people are using. They kind of use that as based on how many people download. So it's not really accurate. It's all based on how many times somebody actually downloaded. They don't know exactly how many people are actually installing it. But that kind of gives you an idea of what's popular right now. And Manjaro is up there. That's our Arch-based distribution. And Mint is good too.
Yeah, in my fatherly voice, Debian. Fedora's at the bottom. It's not in the top. Well, it's in the top 10, but Deepin and thought Manjaro are kind of the same, right? Oh no, Deepin and
Deepin is a little bit different.
okay.
Yeah. And elementary, if you click on elementary, that one is, since you brought up an article about Mac OS, that's one that looks just like Mac OS. That's one of it's only thing is it's kind of locked down. You can only kind of get certain stuff from their repository that they deem, good for the system, but it looks and feels like Mac OS. So
All right. All right. It looks good though. You gotta have like a nice high resolution monitor or something like that to really go with it. I wonder about the teething issues with these though. Sound and video and stuff like that, graphics drivers and stuff like that. Have any of you all run into these sort of areas of concern?
Most of the issues I've ran into were dealing with like Wi-Fi cards. That's been my
Yeah.
and then some printers as well. Certain printers are not in some of the repositories, or they're a little bit difficult to find the drivers for.
Is that ink or laser-based printers?
Uh, both. But I mean, they constantly try to come out with drivers for it. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you have to take your time and look for a driver, or build it from source, depending on. But if you get one of those major brands, most likely there's a driver out there for it. But if you got like some off-brand one, then it'll be difficult for a printer to work.
Yeah. Wi-Fi cards, is it Intel that you notice the most problems come from, or like Realtek?
Intel.
But Intel is pretty good at supporting Linux drivers on their site. Is it the shoehorn? Do you feel like you got to shoehorn it into the OS, or is it that?
Well,
Yeah.
I can't. It's been a while, so I can't really speak for the hardware now. But I know I had a lot of trouble with Intel cords. I would say a couple years ago, where I had to build it from source in order to get it to work on a system that I was using. I was trying to go ahead.
I will say, which GPU do you like, Techie?
Intel always works for me. The NVIDIA drivers for those, man. Ooh. Or even worse, it'd be the AMD drivers. Is I find.
Yeah, I heard they were a pain.
Oh my god, what a nightmare!
Josh, which one you like?
Say that again.
I was asking Josh which one he liked.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't really know, man. I don't really deal with graphics too much.
Well, I mean, when you boot up the desktop, you have to select the graphics driver, right? It doesn't just load VGA.
Yeah, hold on.
Because what I find is that if the system is too new, it doesn't have a driver for it. That's what I find. And some of the areas of my concern is that my past experience is that when you boot into a more modern system, something like a high-end system, and the driver's not there, then I can't get a desktop because the screen will go blank because it doesn't have a driver. So I can't install anything. So I'm kind of screwed at that point. You got to go back to the beginning at least what I find is you have to go back and reinstall it, reinstall the whole operating system, and then just kind of work from VGA mode. It becomes a pain. It becomes a pain to work with on modern systems. So unless the system has been certified to work with Linux, that's where I walk that fine line. So what's going on, Carlin? Carlin, can you hear us? I think he has mic issues. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. I think Josh is moonlighting over there. Let me see what Fedora's doing. Just says where to buy. Who buys Linux, really? What was I looking for? Oh, that's what I wanted to ask. You guys had any issues with Logitech mice on Linux?
I don't do Logitech.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you rock
What?
for a mouse?
Almost got the entire family on Corsair now.
Oh, okay. Curling, can you hear us? I think he's still having headset issues.
You mean like are you talking about like keyboards and stuff like that?
No, just
By
the
Logitech or
no, just the mice. Because
mics?
the the more advanced MX series mice, they tend to have a lot more
The
binding.
DPI.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I haven't seen any issues with Logitech, but I don't see, and that's the thing. I don't have a lot of hardware or different hardware that I try on systems, so I don't know. You know, I mean, I've used I use the Logitech keyboards and and all that stuff, and that all that stuff works plug and play. So
Yeah, to a certain extent, is plug and play. The some of these more advanced Logitech keyboards tend to be tend to have a lot of bind features and stuff like that. But so the question now becomes, well, can you move to a Linux desktop today without needing Windows? Yeah, you can. I think Office 365, I think you can, you don't need to install it. I think you can just run that straight from your browser, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Only thing I think I'm lacking is Visio. I don't know if they got Visio 365 out yet or not, but if I could do my network diagrams in Visio,
If you have
uh,
Office Pro, if you have Office 365, I think it's Enterprise Edition, it works that way. That's how, at least that's how we run it.
And they also have an equivalent to Visio for Linux. I can't remember the name of it.
SketchUp?
I did a video on it a
yeah,
while
I'm
back,
gonna say I
but
looked.
they have an equivalent for it. And it also opens up the Visio files. You can open them up in there.
Yeah, I mean, Zoom, you don't necessarily, I don't know, I haven't used Zoom on Linux. What's your take on Zoom on Linux?
I'm actually using it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
and it for me it functions just like it does on the Windows side. So
Yeah, man, I think we're getting to a point where Windows is not necessary at this point. I mean, other than for playing games, I don't really play games on this device. If I need to play games, I just kind of get a Windows machine or an Xbox. But
huh,
Or
it's
a
funny
VM.
yeah, it's funny you should bring up games because I literally just started a channel where I'm going to be detailing how to get certain games running on Linux using Wine and Proton and stuff like that. It's going to be primarily pre-recorded stuff, but yeah, like I don't know about you guys, but I finally switched to Linux as my primary OS in August of last year, after being held back by the fact that I couldn't play all of the games that I wanted. And shoot, now there's very few games that you can't play, and the ones that you can't typically have like anti-cheat or something standing in the way, or is heavily multiplayer, and your account may get flagged because they think you're hacking or whatnot. But the bulk of everything, you can make it run to some degree. It may not have the same performance, or it may outperform. It really just depends.
yeah, definitely. See, when you start, like I said, when you get into the desktop aspect and you start running, you know, big high-end cards, NVIDIA graphics cards and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know the stability of it. Sometimes the system may boot fine in you got Chrome open, but once you start to do certain tasks, things do crash. I have seen it. So I've always been a big advocate, man, of getting those old machines from the enterprise that that are coming off a warranty, and they're now upgrading those hundreds of machines that they're about to throw out for whatever reason. Take the good ones, put a good Linux distro on it, man, and then open up a tech lab and get and start using that for like boot camps and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is certainly an option.
Yeah.
At least for stability's sake, anyway. Because I mean, when you start pushing the envelope on any OS, that's typically when the issues show up. When you're doing like heavy video, audio, gaming, stuff like that, stuff that can load certain components down. That's when the gremlins tend to come out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing primarily workshops, that same machine may run forever that you may had an issue with trying to get your render to finish. So
oh yeah. I'm a hardhead, man. I remember back when the G5 Max, the cheap graded ones, when those were coming off of warranty, man, cats used to try to run Yellow Dog Linux on there, man. And then Yellow Dog stopped supporting it after a while.
Is Yellow
That's
Dog even
interesting.
a thing anymore?
No, that's what I'm saying. But back then, I was
Yeah.
a hardhead trying to run that on there. Because you're trying to get away from Apple anyways, right? But no one really cared that you ran it on there. It was just the fact that you could run it on there. That's a lot of, if you really think about the G5, it had a lot of power to it, man. It could do a lot of work. Plus, the tower was pretty dope. And so why throw away something so beautiful if you can just repurpose it, right? So it's just one of those things. But I wonder those iMacs though. Somebody brought that up that they have an iMac. Those iMacs, how hard is it to get Linux on those? The ones that can't get software updates anymore.
I am not sure. I never dealt with Apple hardware too tough. So
Yeah, me neither, man. I tend to stay far away from Mac products. They so expensive.
right.
And if I was to purchase a Mac, I wouldn't. Based on how much I spent on it, I'd be too worried to mess it up.
No, I just mean the ones that came out of like
those iMacs, those older
the
ones.
iMacs, yeah, like the not the G5, the old Intel like Core series on there, like the Core 2 Duos and stuff like that, 4 gigs of memory on it. Those are still pretty decent if you wanted to run Linux on it. I just haven't found anybody who's actually been able to successfully run it.
I mean, you know how Reddit is. I'm pretty sure there's a community out there somewhere that's doing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not on YouTube because
Right.
YouTube they don't allow people to put stuff up there like that. The whole Hackintosh community got killed by YouTube a while back because I remember watching a couple of videos because it was a friend of mine. Well, I actually had a Mac, an older, I can't remember. I got it from a job I worked for. And it was in their marketing department, and it was out of warranty, all that stuff. And so they let me have it. And it was just sitting. I never really used it. I logged into it like once or twice, but then I just set it in the garage and it kind of sat there. But I don't know. I just never got to wanting to put and it was an awesome system. It had like a RAID on it, with like it was their marketing computer that they used to do all their graphics on. So it was high end. The type of hardware that they had in it. But I just never messed around with it. I ended up selling it a while back. So
I don't know, man. It's a nice ornament for the living room though. When people walk in, oh, you got a Mac. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's another thing, man. Feel like you carrying a couple bricks, man. How heavy that thing was.
Oh, I thought you meant some other bricks. I was about to say you went the wrong.
Oh, no, not those bricks.
Bro. Oh man. Yeah, man. I know Intel did have the what do you call that thing? Intel. Yeah.
The compute stick.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
sticks, yeah.
I remember those. I wanted to pick one of those up and try it out, but I never got around to it.
I know they. Yeah, here it goes right here. I know AMD was supposed to come out with one, but it's supposed to be a ARM-based one. I'm not sure. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, see,
Installed with Windows, really?
mm-hmm.
Wow.
See, something like that will be perfect for running like a crypto trading bot or something on, where you know you just need it to hit the exchange every now and then to check the prices, you know, put a bid in and sell or whatever. You know what I mean?
You work in IT or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do for work?
I'm primarily client side. I do all of the Windows 10 stuff for the FAA. Well, I'm on the team that does a lot of it. Unfortunately, they don't listen to a lot of my solutions, and now they're paying for it. But it is what it is. You know how it how it goes.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about certs. You know, certs to get for while you're locked down through COVID-19. So,
Right.
you have any certs?
Some old ones. Everything else is self-taught, or or learned on my own. I haven't really put any time into papering up, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think guys should focus on spending just a couple hours a month on Linux, getting acclimated with it. Don't let that slip by. A lot of times in desktop support and help desk, you're not touching Linux like that. You're just not, 99% of the environment is going to be Windows. So, but you want to be a sysadmin, you got to know Linux. You don't have to be an expert. You just need to know it. There needs to be some form of literacy behind it.
Right.
And far too often, I think some brothers try to take shortcuts, man, and try to avoid getting there. And it's like, no, you need this. 70% of your time you're going to be in command line as a sysadmin. It's just one of the necessary evils.
Facts.
Yeah, I'm in cybersecurity. I don't work in that area anymore, but the times that I have to, I spend maybe less than 10% of my time ever going in and out of command line. But most of my time is working on incidents and stuff like that, and working on more C-level stuff. So, I still know it. It's just one of those things. I don't work with it too much. I probably spend a lot more time in PowerShell than anything else. So, and I hate PowerShell. Just as an FYI, and I'm not a big fan of it. But that's the typical life in IT. Our sysadmin guys, they spend a lot of time in Linux, or not in Linux, in command line. But our cybersecurity guys, we're not 100% sitting around in command line. We're doing a lot more running our lips than anything else. So. But again, like the at the beginning of the hour, we talked about A+, Network Plus, Microsoft Azure, AWS. You have to figure out what your passion is going to be. For some guys, you know, who are just starting out, you got to, it's the rite of passage in IT to get your A+ and start off the help desk.
Yeah.
Some people want to skip past that, jump straight to being CCNA. I can tell you right now from CCNA interviews, they're going to drill down hard on you. They're not going to let anybody touch their stuff just because you want a job. That's not how it works.
Right.
Yeah. So one of my biggest downfalls in my career, I brought down the firewall, not because I was incompetent, but because I didn't understand the age of the firewall itself. It was the old ASA firewall. I was trying to update the firmware on it, and it crashed and never came back up. Had to get somebody in the data center to go reboot it. Embarrassing moment. So I didn't bring down the primary. I brought down the secondary, and because you always update the secondary first, and then if it goes through, then you update the primary, because then it can fall back to the secondary. That's the rule of thumb. So
Right.
very embarrassing moment, but it was a lesson learned. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sure we've all had those. I know I've had my share.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you don't want to go into a job interview and be like, well, everything you've done has been perfect 100%. No way, not in IT. Not in IT. Nothing is 100%. There's always a failure at some point in your career where you've run into an issue. Me bringing down the firewall was I was biting my nails at night because I worked second shift too, and so I didn't have a whole lot of support at that point. I had to wait till my third shift person came in, and he didn't even show up. So I ended up having to call somebody at the data center halfway around the country to go reboot that ASA firewall. Big problem. Same thing with cross-pollination of information. I copied, I was updating a ticket one day and copied the wrong information into a wrong ticket. That's when I learned the value of Notepad++. And so so now I always dump all of my work into Notepad++. Before I ever copy and pasting anything. I copied one company's information to another company's ticket, and it was an embarrassment.
Yikes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big problem. So when you go into an interview, for those of you trying to get into IT, these are the questions they're going to ask. You know, where have you bumbled up at some point in your career? And what are some of the challenges you've had going into IT? If you say I've never done anything wrong. Have a good day. They don't want to talk to you. They want to hear the bad experiences first. If you end up somewhere else, good. Then we know that you're not going to F up here.
My Achilles heel has always been mail servers.
Really?
For system admin job, one weekend I changed the wrong thing, messed up the mail server. Spent the entire weekend getting everything back up and going. When they finally moved me up to systems infrastructure at my present job, I was taking down a mail server every day for an entire week.
What do you do? I haven't worked with Exchange or anything like that. You copy MX records or something like that?
One was like DNS got jacked up.
Okay.
Another one was like wasn't me, but the update. Somebody panicked putting an update on Exchange, and it's just like week after week. And like Friday, I was like, dude, I'm not doing nothing with Exchange. I've messed one up every day this week. I'm not. And it was like all I had to do was just update the cert on the Exchange cert that's about to expire. I updated the cert. The cert got corrupted on a GoDaddy side. And I was like, dude, seriously, that's nothing to do with me.
This is before virtualization too.
Huh?
This is before virtualization.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel for the You know, exchange people that ain't there to work with Exchange, man. Exchange is so always been finicky. Always.
Yeah, it's
It's
never
like a finicky system.
yeah,
Yeah,
it never
everybody lives off of it.
it never keeps it 100 with you, man. It's always something, man. You always got. To me, it's like back it up, man. Just whatever you do, just back it up.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
check your password, back that up too. You never be able to get Oh my God! That's why Exchange administrators were so highly paid, man. It was so complicated.
Yeah, most of the interviews I went into, it was like, do you know Exchange? I was like, I played with Exchange, this version of this version of this version. You're hired.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that's how it was.
okay.
That's how it was. No Exchange. I saw it, on the shelf in Micro Center one time. I was gonna buy it. That's why it's the extent of my knowledge on Exchange. But don't ask me to configure that shit because that thing is complicated.
Yeah, that's about where I am with Exchange too. Yeah, I know less than enough to be dangerous. So, yeah, believe it or not, I actually know more about the old notes email than I do about that.
Oh, Domino server.
Yeah.
Lotus Notes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Ronald?
Yo, what's going on, guys? Everyone's sharing their horror stories.
Oh man, yeah. These horror stories are very important if you're going in for an interview. For some of these guys trying to get into IT. Like I said before, if you think you get into an IT interview, you're gonna get past it unscathed without being asked one of these questions. Man, they had very random questions. A guy asked me, what would you do with a pencil?
What the hell?
Yeah. Oh man, it was crazy.
It was like,
what can you do with a pencil?
Write with it. Like,
that was not an option. So you had to come up with at least three ways of using a pencil.
Damn.
You can't kill somebody with it, and you can't write with it. What else can you do with it?
huh,
Make sure
interesting.
stuff is balanced.
Oh yeah, you can measure things with it. Because of
Draw a straight line
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
erase what somebody else wrote.
those are one of the options. That's what I get. Oh man, it's crazy. Some of these questions, man. How would you improve a Humvee? I don't know. This was during the Iraq invasion because they were suffering from IED attacks. These sort of questions. How would you improve a Humvee? I don't know. You got like 30 seconds to figure it out. Just looking at a Humvee, how would you know?
And well, being prior service, I'd say comfortable seats, slap a turbo on it, and get some better tires. So,
Wow, some hand cooks.
or something.
No, man, it's very complicated, man. A lot of people think, if you're not getting a call back, you got to rethink about how you answer some of the questions. You can't just always say it's racism. So I'm not one of those guys who just wants to lay the blame at the feet of the mayonnaise man. I always think that you got to kind of evaluate yourself on some of the most complicated aspects of IT. How would you improve this? Well, I would actually use Citrix and then push down a Citrix client down to the end users and have them work remotely. Since we don't have enough laptops in place, we only have so many laptops, right? Those are one of the solutions. That's something that we can spin up really fast. We can do that in a couple of days if we play our cards right and we have enough budget left over. So licensing is key.
Yep, that it is. So I don't know if you guys covered it earlier, but do you guys have like a distro of choice?
That was my question to keep it techie.
Okay.
Keep the Linux.
Hold on, what happened? I'm sorry. My kids started talking to me.
Distro of choice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Orch. I use Orch. And I started out with Ubuntu. I use Ubuntu. I switched to Linux. Well, I switched to Linux Mint at one point. And then I tried Terragos. which was
And-
another one.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought me into the world of Orch, which is a little bit different, you know, from everything else, the way
Oh yeah.
they handle packages and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I know.
yeah. and I installed Orch, I would say like 10 times in a virtual machine just to make sure I would do it. I mean, I would do everything correctly before I wiped my computer.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Right.
I did it multiple times just to make sure I can actually go through follow the guide and go through it and went through it and installed the words. So
Yeah, I kind of felt, since I don't have as much time as I used to, I kind of fell off of Arch because you can easily jack something up if you aren't careful.
yeah.
Yeah. And then you'd be like, oh, I gotta start over, you know, because it can get a little difficult to retrace your steps and bring the machine back to life.
Mhm. Well, I find that and I understand the time aspect, but I find that as, I mean, it's just great to be. It's almost like a challenge. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
Oh, I got to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? But if you ain't got the time for all that, then
Yeah.
stay away from Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over the last maybe 2 years, I've found out of all the distros I try out, I always find myself going back to Pop OS. And
Oh yeah, Pop OS is cool.
yeah. And it's, I mean, even out of the box, like a lot of the things just kind of work. It's not very heavy on resources, although it does run GNOME. And it's been a solid choice for me.
Are you more, I guess, a KDE person or just no?
GNOME and XFCE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way, GNOME and XF, because before I installed XFCE, I had GNOME for a while.
Mhm.
And I like GNOME, you know, it's real good because that's why I kind of related it to, I mean, that's one of the closest I would say to like a Windowsy type environment. So you can, you know, it has all those cloud features built into it. Like you can log into your Gmail, you know, and all that stuff for a sync with Evolution and all those different applications in there in GNOME. So
Right.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But hey, Curlin,
Yep.
post your channel in the chat, bro. I'm gonna support you, man, because I always like to see other, you know, black guys talking about tech as well as Linux, because you know my channel is all about Linux, just different applications and stuff. So I definitely support you and put you on my community tab and all that stuff. You know,
Hey,
and support.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I caught word about you and what you were doing. I was like, oh shit, it's another brother in the manosphere talking about Linux shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to link up. We need to link up.
Yeah, definitely.
What's up, brothers? What's up? Keep it techie. What's going
What's
on,
up, man?
What's going on, Nagone?
How you doing, Nagone?
Hey, man, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, now you guys are talking about Linux. What flavor of Linux are you playing with heavily right now, or are you kind of dealing with a few different ones at this stage, like Ubuntu and so forth? What are you playing with right now?
Well, I'm currently a Orch user, but I play with pretty much all the distributions like CentOS. I use VirtualBox. So VirtualBox, you can install like 20. I mean, you install as many virtual machines as you want on the system and play around with the different distributions. So that's yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not like really one that I mean, the main one is Orch, but
right.
yeah, I play around with a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty promiscuous with my distro, so.
Promiscuous. I like that term.
Gotta run that Dom game. So, yeah, I don't have any real select versus non-select in terms of like distro. I just kind of I'm terrible.
Yeah.
I'm terrible, man. They're gonna put me on a website. Yeah, I never really felt wedded to one. I always just kind of go through them. It's like, yeah, this is cool, that's cool. That's the thing about the distros, is that there's so many out there, and you just kind of play until you find your space. And it's like, I mean, we went to distro watch earlier, but there's like 24 that are popular. And so you kind of got to find your place. You just got to find your place. I don't have any real dedication. It's whatever you know, our IT department uses. You know, most IT departments in America, enterprise-wide, use Red Hat or Ubuntu.
Yeah, we use like thousands of Red Hat and SUSE nodes, or SUSE, whichever. But
just-
at home I run Arc, and server side I prefer Debian.
But just to make it clear, it doesn't matter what distribution you run. The only one of the, it's like two main differences within the distributions that I could think of off the top of my head right now. And that's the package manager is different. And the desktop environment is slightly different on how you find certain things. But as far as the way that applications work, they all work the same no matter the distribution you're on. They may look a little different, but it's the exact same application. That's
Right.
one good thing about it. You know what I'm saying? So
You-
any
you bring up
command
a-
line stuff is all the same.
Oh, so you bring up an interesting point. You're talking about there's some differences on some of the desktops. We'll just quickly for people out there, what would be some of those desktop differences that you have encountered?
Okay, so basically, when it comes to distribution, the way it works is somebody sat down and wrote down a list of all the applications, and also they go into the look and feel of the the actual desktop environment, but they just go through and pick certain things that they like or that they want, that they want to see in a distribution, and they come up with a package of all the different software that would be on there by default at the end of the day. And then sometimes they'll build a different package manager, and the package manager is just simply how you install the applications on there. But they'll use a different, they'll pick whichever one. Most of the time they pick what's out there, what's already been built. Like a lot of these distributions that were named off or Debian based,
Yep.
or Orch based.
Yep.
They basically are pulling from repositories and forking the code. That's why I'm a big proponent of GitHub. That goes into programming. You're just basically taking what's there and making it how you want to see it. Or and then a community is built behind it by people actually liking the direction that you're going towards, with the other developers, and that's how a distribution is actually formed. But it's all the same base kernel, and people just put everything on top of the kernel what they want to see in a distribution, if that makes sense.
You got
Yep.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think that's a pretty damn good answer. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, you can like think of it as like a pyramid of words, and the very first one is kernel at the very top. So you grab that. The second level, you'd be like, oh, okay, so let's pick a package manager. So there's 5 or 6 out there. We'll grab this one. The next level is your desktop environment. Oh, there's 4 or 5 of those. I like this one the best because it does this. Okay, let's add that on there too. And then, so forth and so on. And next thing you know, after you package it all up and make your ISOs and whatever, you have a distro. And that's kind of what Keep It Techie was just saying. But underneath it all, it's still all the same exact code. It's just presented differently.
there you go. Yeah, I think that's what you basically broke down. I thought that was really Very good answer. Yeah, you cats are dead on it, man. I'm just, you know, like I said, I I deal in the tech environment from a project management, recruiting perspective, but I definitely, definitely like hearing what, how you guys are breaking stuff down.
There's a question in the chat. I don't know if anybody's gotten to it from Aquatech. He says, anyone have experience with ZFS storage on Linux?
Not on Linux, on BSD, on FreeBSD. Yeah. It's really no joke. It's one of the most complex file systems you can deal with. It requires a lot more memory than usually. You don't think about something like that when you think about requiring memory. You just think about enough for the OS. It's a file system that you wouldn't want to run with under 8 gigs, even on the server side or something like that,
Right.
because it uses memory on its own it uses memory to keep track of things, and it's really what do you call it, advanced file system. Like if you're like you like one of these guys with the huge home labs, or gigabyte terabytes of data, and you're afraid of losing your data, one of the best file systems to put it on is actually ZFS.
Because it's more for storage area networks, right? More applicable for those areas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Huge use case for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nagone, you are a recruiter out of the Big Apple.
Yeah.
What's coming across your desk in terms of Rex, in terms of like Unix? Linux?
As of right now, with the companies I'm dealing with, they've slowed up, so things are not going to be opening up again until they were talking about just the beginning of May. But as of right now, I've got machine learning. I'm still dealing with, of course, our blockchain developer positions. I've had some positions actually on the Java development cloud, but server side, Java, AWS, that type. I don't know if you guys are kind of familiar with that. And that's what I have right now. I'm sure there's some other tech recs. I have some stuff that's a little bit on the older side that they're looking to bring in on some consulting on a consulting side of a bit. If anybody here is familiar with, does anybody here know anything about Informatica?
Isn't that a company?
It's a database, right?
Database, exactly correct. Yeah. So Informatica database, yeah. So, which is another interesting, some old stuff. So it's like, wow. But anyway, that's a lot of what I'm dealing with. Of course, I'm dealing with SQL developers, front and back end. So we have some pretty strong development stuff going on there, along with C, C++, some C# development as well. But that's kind of what's going on, and we're dealing more with banking systems applications, to be quite frank about it.
What it sounds to me is like those legacy banks are trying to get off of legacy systems, but they're trying to move to a more serverless, microservices and serverless computing in the cloud. That sounds like that's the motivation and the angle that they're going at now. There's no way. Yeah, go ahead.
That's certainly what they're doing, but they need to get involved with a few new migrations. This is a big money thing as well. Mm-hmm. So so there are issues there. I think there's a lot of politics involved going on with these banks right now, and what they're going to spend on and what they aren't, and so there's some big issues there. But I know some guys are getting ready to get some new rollouts going by the end of the fourth quarter. They want to start getting a lot of stuff going, and then moving into the first quarter of next year. That's kind of what I'm hearing, but it changes from day to day right now. And then what's going on now with what's happening and banks being shut, a lot of stuff is not, a lot of banks not open, with branches open and all, and a lot of online banking going on. Yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot more web and kind of and the cloud working currently, but that's what's going on, and the demands on the systems right now are huge. So
Yeah.
That's a lot of what's happening at this stage. So I'll have a better answer for you guys as I sit down and talk with these guys at the end of this month, beginning of next, and see where we're at. Anyway, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I had a recruiter call me earlier this week. 200,000 in New York for a systems engineer.
Yeah. That's definitely happening, and systems engineers are in huge demand. They're in big demand. They kind of always are, but they're certainly big like that right now. And systems engineers, what were they looking at? What were they looking at more for you to have? Do you remember?
Must know Linux. That's like the bolded
Yeah.
part. Most must know Linux. They didn't say that's what they're gonna be doing with Linux. Just must know Linux. So that's big. That was big on there. I think there was like 3 bullets. It's basically must know Linux, must know Python,
Right.
and the other one was just basically sys administration. So they didn't really go into too much detail. They were just saying that they were looking for somebody right now at that moment. So the company was kept confidential. So it's really, they're saying, and this is what I was told, was that interview would be over Zoom.
Yeah.
You would work remote until the green light was given for people to come back into the office. So they're not even coming in for an interview. You're basically,
yeah,
they'll ship you a laptop and have it all configured up for you, and you'll be working right away.
I'm just going to tell you guys, and I know everyone's, with the H-1B stuff and all and all those issues, but I can tell you right now, as soon as this thing lightens up, the amount of tech jobs and the amount of tech hiring they're going to be doing is going to be fucking mind-boggling. Yeah. All right, it's going to be mind-boggling. Okay, mind-boggling. So if you've got strong tech skills, if you're a strong sysadmin or you're a strong developer and so forth, you will be working. Okay, you're very strong Linux man or woman, forget about it. Forget about it. So it's going to be very wide open. I'm just letting people just understand that, because this tech thing is this, as far as jobs are concerned and people talking about recessions, the tech game is going to be wide open. So for those who are saying, well, it's going to be all H-1Bs and they're going to be taking all the jobs and you're not going to be working, I would not be. I wouldn't be a big consumer proponent of that line of thinking. You will be working. Now, to keep it techie, and Carol and I'd like to kind of get their feedback as far as what they think about that as well.
No, I definitely agree, man. Everything you say, I think it's gonna, open up a whole lot more once this, pandemic kind of subsides. A lot of tech jobs they're out there now.
Yep.
And I was looking into recently, I forget that guy named Dr. D. He came on the channel a while back, but he does online training, IT training. So if you can teach, or if you got a degree or something, that's going to open up as well, because a lot of these schools are going to be going to some type of at least partially online training. It depends on how this all go with the everything, but I 100% agree with what you said, Nagone.
Yeah.
Just go ahead, Colonel. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna chime in on, key off of everything that you guys already said. I mean, if you think about it, what's being shown right now is how ill prepared a lot of these companies are for a situation like this, where everybody need to sit their ass at the house and still get their work done. So if you have a way to, or if you have any ideas or an avenue, to set something up to kind of future proof, in case we get a COVID-23 or some shit, you know what I mean? And everybody need to sit their ass at the house and work again, you'll be in a better position to actually take advantage of it. Yeah. Or help prep other companies to do the same.
Yeah, and I also want to chime in and say, people who looking to get AWS certified, Azure certified, don't immediately think that AWS or Amazon is just going to hire you because you have those certs. That's not how it works. It's really difficult to get into Amazon from an AWS perspective. And so what people should actually be looking at is becoming a vendor for cloud computing, right? You are the intermediary in between AWS and the client.
Yep.
And so rather than do work for Amazon, you spin up the services for the client and manage it. Managed services is basically what I'm referring to.
Yep. Because I mean, even in the government sector, there's like a certain percentage of third-party contractors or whatever that they have to have instead of going straight to Amazon or Microsoft or Oracle or any of these other super huge companies. They have to go through an intermediary, and that could be you and your company. So
yeah, because big government, that's one of their big concerns too, especially local and state. Mm-hmm. They don't have the human resource, human capital to do all of these things. So they're looking to partner with minority firms, and those minority contracts should go to Black people, especially Black men.
Excellent point. These are great points being brought up, and we just want to. Excellent point, Mike. Excellent point you bring up before, Colonel. As far as a lot of these companies, banks, they all this online stuff flying through and all the transaction stuff that are going on right now because people can't go to the banks. A lot of these guys are getting overloaded, man. There's a lot of craziness going on right now. And a lot of companies have not been well prepared for this. They haven't. And that's why this whole tech thing is going to blow up heavy. But these are some key points that are being brought up, Mike, definitely on that minority kind of contracting piece. It's all there. This is wide open. I just, in chaos, there's opportunity. The people have to understand how, what that means. In chaos, there's opportunity. And there's a lot of opportunity right now. And people have to start to kind of think about that. Those who are in this tech side of the game have to start to think about that a little bit. We want to express that. That's why it's very important. We want people to go in and really get certified and really get trained in this because, opportunities like this come up, stuff like this goes down. And next thing you know, you're working like crazy. They're going to be guys right now who may not have the greatest of skill sets, but they're going to interview, they're going to get in a few places and they're going to get shots that they may not have had previously. That's what's open as well. I don't want, the naysayers and somebody that go, oh, well, it's the H-1B guys, forget about it. They got everyone. You ain't gonna get a job. Get the fuck up out of here. So, I'm just letting that be known. So you have to take a look at what's really going on out here and look at the opportunity because there is a lot. And and we need to be in this space heavy. And we definitely know that there's moves being made to keep you out of it. We understand that. We have to fight that, resist that, consistently train to stay in this game, and the more opportunity will avail itself. Trust me, it will.
Yeah, I never really thought about this until Renaud actually mentioned it. BSD, that's something we haven't even gone over BSD yet, man. We really got to do a live stream on BSD.
Good idea.
I haven't thought about that in a while.
Linux is ahead in the Unix game, but yeah, BSD is still alive. Flight Radar 24 is all on BSD. Some companies, they run in the back because it's solid. Actually, Netflix, they're what they call their video.
Bring them up.
Yeah, they all run on BSD. Also run on FreeBSD. Yeah.
And Mac OS is based on BSD.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you didn't know, yeah.
Netflix is making a killing. They have probably the best IT infrastructure or environment I've seen in a long time, and they're spending pennies on software development and stuff like that. It's all this stuff is open source based.
Mostly Java.
Yeah.
A friend of mine works there. He does front end Java, and I mean, I think he clocks in almost at 200 over there.
Yeah. They're making big bucks with that company, man.
Yeah. I just wanted to answer Rowdy Benoit. He asked me, what is it? What is the situation in IT in Brazil? It's wide open there at this stage of the game. It's wide open. The only problem is, they're restricting a certain amount of people coming into the country. They've got some things going on there as well. But the IT industry in South America is wide open, and the money is great because right now it's about 531 to 1. So if you go down there and you're making 100 grand as a very strong Java developer or a systems engineer, or a sysadmin, however, whatever positions you have, let's say with the Bank of Brazil or some of the other big institutions down there, that'll be akin to making like $500,000 a year or so forth. So it's 5 to 1 ratio. So it's huge. The exchange rate's massive. But not a lot of people are traveling there as much. So it's a little bit thin there. But if you speak some of the language and you have opportunity, especially in Sao Paulo, there more so than any other area, which is a lot of work, you can do very well, and get paid like the mob up in that piece, because the dollars are really in your favor.
Now, I was just going to mention also about Brazil is that Lenovo is really big down there. They have a big plant,
Yep.
Big office down there. IBM as well. So
yep,
I would look at that from a more software perspective than anything else. If you can code, man, you can survive in Brazil.
Brazil, you can do very well if you're a strong Java developer, very strong front end Java development is huge. And that's I was down there hiring Java developers, 8-9 years ago, and it's still the same game today. Banks are upgrading. They're moving into some into more of the later technology. Also, literally from the desktop perspective, these guys are moving up from Windows 8, 9. They're still behind on some of that, moving up to the latest. So there's a lot of migrations and stuff that these banks are getting involved with, and other private companies as well as governmental agencies as well. So there's a lot of work down there for IT pros. A lot of work, as I said. Mike's very, very right about Lenovo, very correct about that. But at the same time, as I said, not a lot of people are going down there heavy right now. But if you certainly do want to do that, that'd be great. If you've got some levels of Portuguese speaking skills, you're the man. Okay, so Rowdy, and then Neil. Okay. So I just want to just kind of let them know that a little bit, and opportunities are abound, and the money is crazy. Yeah.
I met with a cryptographer from Brazil, actually from Argentina, and he lives in Brazil, but he's here. He works on blockchain development. He's a blockchain developer, and amazing stuff that he's working on in terms of cryptographic storage and stuff like cryptographic storage and identity distribution. It's really some really dope stuff coming out of it, but coding is really, really big down there. They don't need a whole lot of hardware guys. They need a lot of coders down there. If you can write code in Python and stuff like that down there, you're big time. As far as I know from the people I've spoken to down there and I met recently, the last 6 months or so, definitely some dope stuff coming out of there. So I wouldn't be surprised, man, if they start opening up the market to bring more people down, to really boost up their presence in information technology. So,
yeah.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, brother?
In terms of opportunities in tech, one of the big opportunities is basically in AI. With a lot of companies trying to be more efficient, a lot of companies are hiring a lot of individuals who know how to basically do machine learning and deep learning.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, I've seen a lot of chemical companies, a lot of even logistics companies that hire a lot of people who do a lot of machine learning, deep learning. They hire a
lot of engineering companies. A lot of engineering companies as well. You bring up, because I've got a company right now that I'm dealing with currently. We got a machine learning position. But anyway, go ahead.
So it's basically the goal now. The goal since the downturn now, every company is now looking at how can we be more efficient? How can we utilize our resources a little bit more? and basically make it basically stretch longer and basically be more profitable. And again, data. Everybody's looking at how can we utilize our data to our advantage. So a lot of machine learning, a lot of deep learning, a lot of automation, finding ways to automate your process. So that's kind of big. So there's a lot of money involved in it.
Very much so. Then on.
Yeah, keep it techie. Have a good one, brother.
All right, keep it techie. We'll about in a little bit.
All right, I'll talk to y'all. Hey, Nagon, yeah, you can call me, or if you want me to call you, just let me know.
Okay,
man.
I will do that. I'll hit you up in a little bit. All right,
Okay.
all right, family. All right.
Peace.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point, Engineer Cannabis, because companies are building out their new next DevOps teams now. AI ops, ML ops, those sort of teams are starting to be developed now because they're looking at this going forward, saying the guys that we have now in IT are not sufficient enough, or the people that we have in IT right now are not sufficient enough to do what we need to do to get to fourth industrialization. Yeah, you have your sysadmins and your network admins and stuff like that, but we need AI, we need ML, we need reinforcement learning and deep learning and stuff like that. You got to build out a whole different team, kind of like the Space Force that the Trump administration spun up. It's a new generation of guys people coming into this. So, they're looking at this as well. Everybody's looking at fourth industrial emerging technologies, saying we need the right players on our team. No more of the old traditional stuff of getting guys or getting people from universities and stuff like that. They're going down to the people who may not have a degree, but they can write code. They're saying, hey, you can do this. You know ML, you know AI. Let's have a conversation. You can't really certify in these moves.
It's coming down to skill sets right now. I know a lot of companies want to have people with college experience, and what they're saying now is, and I have the recs where it says Bachelor of Science, BS preferred. It says a BS preferred. That's what they say, a BS or BA preferred. But now they're saying, but you must have XYZ skill sets. So it may look like you have to have a college degree. It says BS preferred. Preferred doesn't mean this is what you have to have. No, it's preferred. They prefer to have that. What does that mean? If you've got all these other key skill sets and you know how to program and so forth, and you've got the experience, and if you still don't have a bachelor's degree, that's not going to knock you out of the box. They're looking for the experience. They're looking for people who have the certifications and the and the hands-on knowledge. That's what's critical here.
And most of the time, they even ask. They don't focus on the degree. They ask if you have experience with TensorFlow. You have experience with Tableau.
Yeah, very good, very good. That's very, very accurate. Very
Hadoop, TensorFlow, Hadoop, scikit-learn, all that. They don't ask you about the degree. The degree just comes in and goes. They focus on, do you have Python experience? How many years? Do you know what kind of machine learning algorithms? And they go in depth on how you basically work on a project from beginning to end. So that's what they look for.
That's exactly that's exactly right.
They're looking at to see if you have a GitHub or not. Do you have a GitHub? What kind of work is on there? So that's going to determine whether or not they give you a call to come in or not, or whether or not you get a call back. Based on
with machine learning, a GitHub account is not difficult. Most of the codes, especially for machine learning and deep learning, doesn't change that much. It's slight variation, especially because you're using a library that most people use. So GitHub and everything it's really, really good. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's really critical. I think some people want to certify in these sort of new emerging areas, and you don't really certify in those areas. You kind of you got to perform a lot of that work. A lot of stuff is performance based, so you can't really cert in those areas.
There's no certification again for AI, ML, and either you know it, either you know how to perform it, either you know how to do feature engineering, either you know how to do clean your data, and either you know how to do all these things or you don't. There isn't certification for that.
Yeah, unless you, I mean, the closest thing to a certification would be like a nano degree, right? From Udacity. From Udacity, you would get something like that. Or maybe a certificate from like Harvard or MIT.
Yeah, data science and all that, predictive analysis maybe. But the goal is either you know how to use Python and come up with a mathematical model and basically make sure it's right, or you don't.
Yeah, most of the people I've met in IT, I would say 1/3 of them did not have a degree in tech at all. You know, the most talented ones like came from like Berkeley College of Music. They had a degree in stuff.
Yeah, most data scientists don't really come from a data science background. They either come from a tech background, engineering, or somewhere, and jump into machine learning, AI, and all that. Most individuals going into it even come from sociology, learning how to use machine learning for sociology experiments.
Or finance.
I keep mentioning this guy's a CTO now, but young kid came up out of his house. He had Linux, Unix servers in boxes in the crib. Parents got it for him. This guy knew everything from, he did load balance. I mean, this guy knew everything. Had a technical issue, tech tested him. We had guys literally from, who trained at Linux, trained with at unit, trained with them. Just certified techs. They couldn't solve a problem. This kid came in here and knocked it out in 2 minutes. Did not have a college degree. He was 17. His mother had to sign for him. And that's how we started.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the way Black kids have to learn. They have to be taught that stuff 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, going into command line. I mean, that's how we got started in DOS. In DOS, you have to hold that floppy disk and put the command in, then load the second floppy disk in there.
Yep.
I mean, so that's how these kids learn, and this is going back a few years back, and that's the game today. So that's where you're at with this. So I just want to be clear on that, and I'm sorry, I'm not a proponent of stinking thinking. I've heard other guys saying, hey, you're priced out because of the H-1Bs and all the different kind of games that are being played. We know that they are out there. But if you think that that's going to stop you from being successful in this industry and you're not being able to work, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to answer Gabe's question real quick. Gabe made a statement about a degree is still worth more than a cert. So I'm just saying a degree is good. Don't get me wrong.
I want to speak directly to that. Gabe is overall correct, because I deal with recruiting. I know where HR is looking for. I understand that. Degrees are definitely there. People want people to have degrees. There's not a debate on that issue. We're not debating that. What I am saying is if you've been in the environment and you've got the work experience, you've got the knowledge, you know how to work these systems, you know how to certainly play in that arena, especially in a very, what I used to call a cross-functional matrix environment, knowing a lot of different technologies, being able to work really well there. And you have a great, overall tech background and skill set. And if you do not have a degree, that's not going to preclude you either. That's not going to stop you from getting into certain positions, is what we're saying. Are degrees important, and do companies want to see degrees? Yes. But if you think that's the bottom line to the game, it isn't.
No.
And that's the truth of the matter. And I want to put that out there as well.
And I also want to say, if you want to dip your toe, if you're trying to basically get experience around the tech industry, or you want to see how it feels, you can use a cert to just know how it feels and go into the tech. You don't necessarily need a degree. Degree it's good to have. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of the big proponents to have a degree, fine, but it's not necessary, especially within tech. It's not necessary.
No,
Yeah, I'm living proof. I don't have a degree.
Yeah, it's not really necessary.
Right?
Say again, no, Mike?
You started up, right? You certified, right?
Yeah, I have some, but they're old. I'm talking like NT days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you was a millennial. I didn't know that.
Nah. But I turned 45 this year, man.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You turn 45. Oh, you sound young. You sound young.
Thank
45
you
is
very
still
much.
young. 45 is still young, man. You ain't old at 45. That's for damn sure.
Right.
But yeah. But you kind of sound maybe you were in your late 20s, the early 30s.
But he still wears skinny jeans and stuff like that, man.
Skinny jeans, goddamn, no traps, no brown boy.
You're like, now I'm cool on all of that. Like bring the baggy clothes back.
Yeah, no, I agree also that because I work for an airline distribution company, and I had my 2-year degree, my AA, and I was at college at the time, but they wanted people. This is like 10 years ago. They wanted people that just they were migrating from a 30-year-old TPO system to Linux, and they really needed people that in South Florida that just dealt with Linux at the time. And I was working with PHP and Linux, and I mean, they just hired me, and they preferred a degree, but they knew I could do the job, and been there since.
But if you had the skill set, and that's always how it's been in the tech industry. It's going to continue to stay that way. Certainly, like I said, he mentioned bachelor's degrees preferred. I mentioned that earlier. Gabe said that I had mentioned that earlier, that bachelor's preferred. I get those recs all the time, preferred. And that basically means you do not have to have a degree. But if you certainly have one, yeah, that's advantageous. But they understand the tech people, the people who are doing the hiring in tech and so forth, understand this business well. And they know it comes down to your skill sets as opposed just to whether you've gotten a degree from a school, which is always advantageous. It's always advantageous. So we wouldn't play that down. But your skill sets are what especially today, are a priori in these environments. That's the reality. And we're just sticking to that. That's it. If you have a degree, that's great. And I say definitely get the degree if you get the degree. I'm going to say that all the time. But does that preclude you? Does that knock you out of the box from getting very good positions in the IT industry where you be a 6-figure player and so forth? No, it does not. It will not stop you from doing that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted, a lot of times black people want to get into IT. They think they got to immediately go and get that computer science degree. No, you don't have to do that. Computer science is computer science for a reason. Information systems is more closely aligned with IT. You don't need to get a bachelor's degree in that. You can get your associates in that. The bachelor's degree is just more elective classes, that you really don't need. I mean, you don't really need to know about gender studies for your, information systems degree. I just don't see the value in it. I don't see why you even have to pay for something like that.
Right. Like where I am as a Fed, working as a team member, I don't necessarily have to have a degree, but it becomes a big difference maker when I start looking at breaking into management and getting out of the technical part. But that's just as a Fed. So, I mean, in that particular aspect, yeah, it does make a big difference. But if you can demonstrate that you have the ability and the know-how, a lot of the guys that are getting picked up now where I am don't have degrees, and they can run circles around the people that do, because they spent that time learning the actual tech instead of having to step through those 4 years,
Yeah, and always remember this, a lot of companies, especially if you get in and you're good and you start to move up and you have great experience and you're hired, you can also get tuition reimbursement, and some schools will help you finish your studies as well.
Exactly.
So
He's right.
And good companies will do that. Tuition reimbursement. They will help you sponsor your education as well there. So a lot of companies play that game. That's what I'm saying. There are a lot of ways to deal with that. Is a degree a good thing, and is it preferred? I would say absolutely. But certainly, I just will maintain it is not something that is also not going to keep you out of the game as well. So so we want to keep a balance there. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. Companies will help to sponsor your education as well when you get in. So all that stuff plays a role. And I'm done. All right.
Yeah, my security director actually has a degree in film development. I mean, film production. So, you know, hey, you know, it happens.
Yeah, and in terms of the degree, it depends on the path you want to go to.
Mhm.
So, for instance, I wanted to go into research, and my company decided, hey, if you want to go to grad school, PhD, we'll sponsor it, we'll pay for it for free, and I did, and I'm going to. So it just depends on the path you want to go into.
Mhm.
If you want, so the degree doesn't matter. It depends on you, where you want to go, what path you want to follow. And so again, companies will sponsor you to go to school.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Companies will, all the banks and stuff I deal with, they have tuition reimbursement. They all involve in literally improvement, self-improvement, improving on the job and getting greater skill sets there. That's why they have that there. So people who do come in and who do well, and then they want to, you know, continue their education and move forward with them as well. They'll definitely help you to do that as you work with the company. So it's all a win-win type of a deal. So you know, we don't want anyone to just think, well, if you don't have a degree, you know it's a competitive environment, you know, you're going to get knocked out by somebody else. Because what happens is you have to understand, a lot of times if you get the interview and you talk, they give you a tech test. If you have a degree and one techs out who may not have a degree, who techs out better than the guy who has a degree but doesn't tech out that well, guess who's going to get that job? You follow what I'm saying? Who's going to get that job, especially when you are in the tech interview? Who techs out better? It's going to be you, bogey. That's going to be the guy you're going to be rolling with. Who techs out better? Who techs better? You can't ignore that. So you know, and the degree sometimes don't cannot overcome that. So keep that in mind as well. All right, guys.
Yeah, it's a good way to end it, man. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if not already done so. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell to get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Doc in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with. If you're trying to get into IT for the first time, we do offer IT mentorship here. Just leave a comment at the end of the live stream so that one of us can get in touch with you and help you out there. If you're trying to go from one IT role to another, we do offer IT coaching. So make sure you leave a comment at the end of the video saying you want to be coached in that area. Cover letters, resumes, salary, wages, negotiation. We do offer advice in those areas as well. Just hit us up at the end of the live stream. In the comment section. And if you are in the tri-state area and looking for IT roles, the Golden 11 does have recs on the table. Make sure you get in touch with us through the comment section at the end of the live stream. I see that you guys are talking about games. I'm a big first-person shooter fan myself. Quake 3, Quake 2. I can't get enough of it, even though it's cool.
Nice. You do, man. Love it.
Rocket Arena. I used to play semi-pro. I used to play on the Proving Grounds with a couple of clans. So.
Oh, snap.
Oh, nice.
You remember Proving Grounds, huh?
Yeah.
Remember the what was it? The CLQ, I think that's what it was called, where you used to check for how many frags a person would log in every week playing on servers. And your position would be at the top of the list. It would collect all the logs at the end of the game and push it to the server, and the server would actually allocate the wins and the frags and stuff like that. CLQ.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it, and I was never really good enough to play competitively, but Instagive was my thing. I used to love that. Yeah.
Their server's still up, so and I joined them. There's a few people still on them.
Oh, here it is right here. Let me share my screen real quick. Let me see. It says, I was reminiscing about the old days of Counter-Strike clanning, and I remember the website, the CLQ. It kept track of all first-person shooting players' stats, regardless of server or game. For example, it kept Counter-Strike, Quake, Tribe sets. I remember that. That was based on the Unreal Engine, if I remember correctly. Tribes. Nowadays, each server typically has its own stats page. CLQ.com was a stats page for every public server in every game on the planet. Yeah, I remember that, man. Here's what's left. I bet you there's nothing left. Yeah, there's nothing there. So Quake, man, Quake is how I cut my teeth. I actually cut my teeth on Hexen, but Quake is how I really got into the PC shoot 'em up, bang bang sort of deal.
Yeah, Quake, Half-Life, and Unreal were
yeah.
what got me started.
Oh yeah, man. You
Yeah.
had to have a beefy system. You couldn't go in there with some VGA graphics when you got creep and everything in there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember back in the day hacking the hacking the config sys and auto run. I mean, yeah, the auto whatever it was, in order to get that old 486 with just enough memory to start Doom. And like when you finally got it to start, it was like the biggest triumph ever. And that was when I was like, this is what I'm built for. Like, this is what I'm gonna do for a living.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, because you used to have to modify like the scroll wheel and add the weapon scrolling through the scroll wheel itself. So I would have like RPG and shotgun and machine gun and stuff like that. Pull it out. Because if you use the rocket launcher too close, man, you would kill yourself too. So
Yep.
it had to rotate to a different weapon so that you don't kill as many people as possible. So especially if you got the room, right? The quad damage and stuff like that. You just go on a rampage. Yeah, here it is right here, the room.
Quake 2 lithium. I remember that.
Yeah, I was a big lithium junkie, man. Big lithium junkie. Couldn't get enough of it. You used to use a grappling hook to get around. I used to play Bloody Waters, couple of servers, man. Used to do Frag for Tots as well.
Yeah. What there was one map in Quake 3, I think it was in the demo, where it was a bunch of platforms.
Yep.
Think it was DM6. And that map was my joint.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. DM6. Let me see. Yeah, there it is.
No, it wasn't that one. No, that's it. Well, no,
that's DM6. That's DM6. Because you used to go down, you have to fight, and then you come back up and get the shields and whatnot, and get the mega shield right there.
Yeah, it must not be 6 that I was thinking of then. Crap.
Oh man, you're gonna make me go fire this thing up, man.
I'm trying to think of which map that was, but it was literally like some hovering platforms, and there was a railgun way out, and you had to hit the springboard and jump out there and get it.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right.
You're talking about, yeah. Here it is right here. Oh, that's one of them. Yeah, that's one of them.
That's it up there in the top left corner of the screen. That one. Yeah.
Oh, space. This was space.
Yeah.
Oh, that was hard because if you missed that jump, man, you kind of screwed.
Oh yeah.
You floated off.
I used to play rail on that, just like only rail.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I used to love that.
Man, you're gonna make me fire this sucker up. I'm gonna go out there and build a system just for this, and then play that max resolution.
That's the thing. These days, it'll run on just about anything. So
yeah, but on a 50-inch screen, man, a 65-inch screen, I just want to immerse myself in this carnage, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
I still have Quake 4 too, right here in the box, right behind me.
Yeah, I never could get into 4. I don't know why. It just never grabbed me.
Yeah, 4 never took off. 3 is what everybody still runs back to, and now they have Quake Champions, which doesn't look like it's taking off either. Since they got all the competition now with Overwatch and all this other stuff.
Yeah. And plus the players today are not like the players back then. Guys just come out and fight. Now these guys just camp. They wait behind things and they snipe you, and then they don't come out and fight, man, for whatever reason. It's really cowardly, lazy sort of gameplay. I'm not really a big fan of that. But yeah, I definitely like Half-Life 2, man. That shit was so dope. Which gave way to Call of Duty later on. So, not that I have a problem with Call of Duty. I'm just from the old school. I just think that you know, gaming was a bit different. The culture is different. The culture is much different.
And what now they have the Half-Life Alyx, which is like VR. It's crazy.
I don't know if I can get into that though, man.
Yeah, I don't have VR, but a friend of mine does, and then I was trying it out. Wow, it was pretty cool. Like some test games, it was different. But yeah, I don't have any, and it's hard to get right now. It's sold out everywhere. The Facebook one, the Quest, the Oculus Quest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're supposed to be stopping production of it. So, but yeah, Doom was too dark. You know, you're constantly in the dark, and that is. But Unreal, the first Unreal and the second Unreal was just really fucking badass, man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you played Doom 2016, but it's not as dark. It's more kind of reddish dirt tone because you're practically in hell.
Yeah.
But it's not like Doom 3 was, where it was like, look at these graphics, and like it's literally a black screen. Because you're sneaking around this moon base without any flashlight or whatever. Yeah. And this new one that just dropped, Doom Eternal, is supposed to be really dope as well.
Yeah, I've seen some reviews on it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't picked it up yet. I was waiting for all of the other guys that play on Linux to figure it out, and then I was gonna snag it up. But
when's the last time you played any one of y'all?
What like Doom?
Yeah. Or Quake or anything else.
It's been a minute. I've been piddling around with certain games, you know, trying to get this channel off the ground a little bit, trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. But I haven't played like sat down and played in quite a while. Yeah.
No, I got back into Quake a couple of months ago. So yeah, there's still active community on Quake. So yeah, I play.
Yeah, they won't go away. They won't go away. They're like the Madden. They're like the Madden PC guys. You know, they stopped making Madden for the PC. Those guys are still playing it from 2006. Man, they go. They're mad about that because they took the coaching from Madden on PC and then they added it to the console, and then they just canceled the PC game, which I thought was a sucker move. But
yeah,
that's unfortunate. But back then, if you didn't have a really good PC, you couldn't enjoy Quake or any of the first-person shooters. So,
yeah, the guy that got me into IT, he was an NT admin, like 2001, and he had the money. You know, we were all broke, but he had the money. He bought like what was it, 3DFX?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Voodoo.
I went to his house. Oh, it was crazy. Yeah, Voodoo. Yeah, Voodoo. Yeah. So he had the money, and it was a separate card. He put it in. He showed me. I was like, oh man, this is nice.
Right.
And that's how I got into IT and all that stuff.
Yeah, my boy had a Voodoo 2 and SLI. That thing was mind blowing on a Mitsubishi Diamondtron. You know, old cathode ray 2.
Yep.
Oh man, I mean, that thing was piping hot too. You know, the monitor was hot, the system was hot.
Right. You definitely had to play in the basement.
Oh yeah, man, you had to take the side off the PC, man, because it was so hot. You know,
man, you guys are going back to early 2000s, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this was like 1999, man.
99, yeah, I'm talking about early 2000, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, that kind of shit.
Yeah, Pentium 2 slot 1 sort of cartridge processor, man. You have to slide that sucker in there, man.
Yeah, the slot A Athlon.
Yeah, man.
I think I still have one of those around here somewhere.
Yeah, man, with the obnoxious cooler on there.
Yep, and you hear the thing spool up. So you hear the fan in that bad boy cooling the bitch off.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing to me because before that, you know, I'm used to the Genesis split screen window. That's how you would play with someone. You'd be on the same monitor, like the same TV, and you're on the top or the bottom.
Right.
When my friend set up a network and I saw, oh snap, I'm on a totally different window and I can see him and he can see me. I was like, oh shoot, this is crazy.
Yeah,
And that's what got me into all this shit.
yeah.
I didn't understand networking concept. I didn't understand any of that. But like, yo, he's moving and I can see him moving.
I got into 007 on N64, man. It was like this.
That's a legend game right there.
Oh my god, man. That was the only thing that the N64 was really good for, outside of like F-Zero or something like that. Carlin, if you did you start the channel already or what?
Yeah, I have 1 or 2 videos up where I was just kind of trying a couple of things out, and I have 3 videos up. 2 of them where I kind of profile a pair of games, both of them Assassin's Creed titles, and kind of show what I do to get it to start and run and show a little bit of the performance. And then another one where I was kind of fiddling around with how I was going to capture what my volume sounded like, stuff like that. I'm still kind of hashing all of that out. So
yeah,
but
man.
yeah, it's called Penguins on Proton. I actually put the link in the chat a little earlier.
Okay, drop it one more time too.
All right.
Yeah, because back then, man, if you had like 256 megabytes of memory, you were the king.
Yeah, you were the man.
You had 464 sticks, man. SD.
Oh, you were the man, homie. You were the man.
Yeah.
You were carrying like a one of those big Louisville sluggers. Those big Louisville slugger bats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people will look at you like, what are you going to do there? What is that, a server? What are you trying to do?
Yep. Right.
Yeah, you were the man, homie. You were the man back in those days.
Yeah, that with a DSL, because DSL was still new at the time. Everybody was still using 56K and net zero and whatnot to cheat their way online. Man, that with a TNT2 Ultra AGP slot, man, you were a boss, man. You were a serious boss, man. You got into you got onto the map first because the map loaded faster because you had a lot more memory, you had faster connection. You the first one on there, so you wait for everybody to get on there. As soon as they come to the teleport, smash. You were the first one out the gate, man.
Yeah, those guys from Valve and ID, I mean, that was revolutionary. They started all that stuff.
Yeah, it.
These Doom guys and Quake guys.
John.
John, right?
Yeah, John Romero and John Carmack.
Right.
Carmack. All right.
Yeah, Carmack is behind Oculus.
Yeah.
He's the scientist behind that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. You're gonna make me start firing up some stuff, man. I know they have Quake 3 in the browser, right?
Yeah, it's called Quake 3 Live, but it was bought by Steam, so it's only on Steam Windows right now.
Okay.
I played that a while. It's all right. It's cool. It's like Quake 3, but everything improved.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll run on Proton if you're gonna do try it on Linux though. It's OpenGL.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's still OpenGL.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
If it isn't, cool. if it isn't GL, if it runs DirectX, the DXVK layer will kick in and it'll translate all of that to Vulkan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. But yeah, thank you all for joining us, man. And we're gonna be out of here, man. Shalom, everyone.
All right.
Peace.